Chapter 709. She stood up. Unlike most of the orcs in the tribe who wore animal skins, the high priestess wore plain white clothes made of linen. Such clothes were very soft and took a lot of energy. In the whole tribe, only the high priestess had such treatment. At this moment, she was standing in the night wind. Her empty white robe was blown up by the wind. Her slender body seemed like the high priestess would be blown away if the wind was a little stronger. Orvis sat not far from her. He had an impulse to immediately go to her side and block the wind for her. At this time, Gu Shengyin spoke. Last night, I received a revelation from the beast god. Her voice was not loud, but it was clearly transmitted to the ears of every orc in the owl tribe, including the orcs who were patrolling outside and not here. Such an ability made the owl tribe respect the high priestess even more. The meaning in Gu Shengyin's words made them all respectful. Hearing the words, beast god, all the orcs stood up spontaneously and bowed their heads in the direction of Gu Shengyin. In their minds, the high priestess was the spokesperson of the beast god in the orc continent. What the beast god looked like, the orcs had never seen it. In contrast, the high priestess who could bring wealth and prosperity to the owl tribe was undoubtedly more revered by them. Then, Gu Shengyin's next words made everyone ecstatic. My owl tribe will become the most powerful tribe in the orc continent. The people of the owl tribe will become the most powerful orcs in the orc continent. Long live the beast god. Everyone was shocked by this news. They would not suspect that Gu Shengyin was lying. In this world, no orc dared to joke about the beast god. The beast god told me how to become a high priestess and continue to practice. If Gu Shengyin had just drawn a big pie for the owl tribe, then her words now were telling them how to eat this pie. All the beast men looked at Gu Shengyin in surprise. A priest was such a precious resource. In such a large tribe like the owl tribe, there were only a few orcs who had the potential to become a priest, and only High Priest Wu Luo could be the high priest of a tribe. Priests had to possess witchcraft, which was bestowed by the innate beast god. Now, the high priest said that other orcs also had hope of becoming priests. A powerful high priest, to a tribe, was no doubt the existence of a sea-stabilizing needle. If the owl tribe could have many priests. Thinking of this possibility, all the orcs were so excited that their eyes turned red. From tomorrow onwards, bring 10 little beast men to me every day. I will observe them one by one and see which one can become a priest. After Gu Shengyin finished speaking, she returned to her original spot and sat down. He had said enough for today. Let them digest it first. As expected, the entire owl tribe was immersed in an excited atmosphere. That night, even many adult orcs did not sleep. The next day, Gu Shengyin had just woken up when she noticed a group of orcs standing neatly outside. What time is it now? Gu Shengyin was stunned. The system replied, if it's converted to a 24-hour system, it's only 6:00 in the morning. 6:00 in the morning? Gu Shengyin pushed the door open. As expected, there were water droplets on the heads of the orcs outside. It was obviously formed by the morning fog. The little orcs were fine. They were all held in the arms of their respective parents and wrapped tightly in animal skin. Some of them were even sleeping soundly. Chapter 710. Seeing Gu Shengyin open the door, the orcs hurriedly woke up the little orcs in their arms. Then, they bowed to Gu Shengyin. Come in. The orcs entered the door cautiously. The little orcs were braver. A few of them had played games with Gu Shengyin the other day. Now that they saw her, they ran over fearlessly. The little leopard even hugged Gu Shengyin's thigh. Gu Shengyin pushed him away helplessly. She said, all right, we're not here to play games today. Stand properly. After all, she still had a lot of authority. The little orcs all stood properly. Starting from the first one, Gu Shengyin walked to his side. She reached out her index finger and tapped the space between his eyebrows. A faint white light flickered on her finger. This made the orcs feel surprised and respectful. Actually, she could have hidden the light completely. She purposely revealed it to make the orcs more convinced. Since they believed in the beast god, she would borrow the name of the god that didn't exist. The little orc only felt a slight chill between his eyebrows. It wasn't uncomfortable. Then, a warm feeling spread from between his eyebrows and swept through his entire body. It was as if his entire body was soaked in hot water. It was very comfortable. When Gu Xingyin's hand left, he was even a little reluctant. The orcs all looked at Gu Xingyin eagerly. They all saw what Gu Xingyin did just now. Could she find out if the little orc could become a priest just like that? What was the result? Gu Xingyin didn't say anything. Instead, she ordered the orcs to bring the little orc to the side. She continued to check on the next little orc. She checked them one by one. When the last little orc was checked, 2 hours had passed. Wu Luo's face was already pale. Now, it was even paler. Even his forehead was covered in fine beads of sweat. She needed to use her wizard power to examine the bodies of all the little beast men. This was a task that consumed a lot of wizard power. Her prediction was not wrong. 10 was her limit. The orcs also saw that she was weak, and their expressions changed drastically as they asked her if she was all right. If the high priestess fell ill because of this, they would never forgive themselves. Gu Xingyin waved her hand, indicating that she was fine. She told them that she needed to rest well and that there was no need for lunch. After the food was served, she asked them to leave. She did not sleep. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate slowly. She had already tried to cultivate her wizard power using the method of cultivating vital energy. If that was the case, meditating was a better method than sleeping. When she opened her eyes again, her complexion had returned to its usual pale white. After standing up from the bed, she no longer felt weak and powerless. She gently extended a finger and tapped it on the ground. An invisible force suddenly shot out, causing a crack to appear on the limestone floor. Gu Xingyin was very satisfied. She still looked weak on the outside, but her skills had undergone an earth-shattering change. She thought of the 10 little orcs that day. According to the way the orcs chose the high priestess, none of them were qualified. Those who were born with wizard power that was strong enough to be discovered by the priest, such as Wu Luo, would be geniuses who would be fought over by all the major sects in the world of sword cultivators. Such a person, in the entire Owl clan tribe, was hard to come by even in a few decades. Chapter 7:11. However, if she were to select ordinary orcs who could cultivate sorcery, there would be 3 among the little orcs who could resonate with sorcery within their bodies. 3 out of 10 people were like that. This ratio was already terrifying. Being able to resonate with sorcery, even if it was weak, meant that they could cultivate along with it. As long as they could cultivate, their future combat power would not be something that the orcs who only relied on their strength and instincts could compare to. As for the little orcs who could not cultivate, Gu Xingyin could also teach them some simple ways to cultivate their bodies. Even if they could not be compared to the orcs who cultivated sorcery, they would still be much stronger than the orcs of today. Ever since Gu Xingyin knew that she had drawn the cultivation methods and techniques of the world of swordsmen, she had a wild ambition in her heart. She wanted to build a unique, powerful empire that would unify the orcs. At night, she once again appeared at the place where the orcs gathered. Since she wanted to play the role of a guide, she could not just stand on the high altar, but had to interact more with the orcs to make them more convinced. Gu Xingyin gave the chief, Taman, a few drawings. She used an extremely thin black pen to sketch a plant with large leaves. Although there was no color, it was very realistic. This is a gift from the beast god that can make the food more delicious, she explained. In fact, she could not stand the tastelessness of the food, so she directly asked the system for the plants that could be used as seasoning in this world. The chief, Taman, had always been very respectful to the high priestess. He immediately passed these few leaves to the male orcs who were going out to hunt tomorrow, and instructed them to remember to step on them when they saw them tomorrow. The next day, 10 little orcs were examined by Gu Xingyin using sorcery. This time, their luck was not as good as yesterday. Out of 10 little orcs, only one of them had a weak wave of sorcery. It seemed that the high ratio yesterday was just a coincidence. At night, the male beasts returned from their hunting trip and brought back many plants for Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin took a rough look and didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she discovered that there really were all kinds of plants inside. It seemed that those orcs couldn't really differentiate what kind of plant it was. As long as they saw something similar, they would grab it and bring it back. In fact, Gu Xingyin felt a little dizzy looking at these plants that looked almost the same. Fortunately, she had the system, so in less than an hour, she finished counting all these things. When she was cooking the meat soup at night, she gave a few of the plants to the female beasts and told them to grind them into juice and put it in the soup. In addition, when they were roasting meat, they should spread it evenly on the meat. The high priest's words were always right. The female beasts did as she said without any hesitation. After the roasted meat was cooked, they cut off the most tender part and placed it on a leaf, placing it in front of her on a tray. Gu Xingyin gently picked up a piece and put it into her mouth. What a nostalgic feeling. As the delicious food entered her mouth, she couldn't help but smile. Orvis, who had been secretly observing the high priest, blushed again. He couldn't help but think, how could the high priest smile so beautifully? Gu Xingyin glanced at Orvis from the corner of her eyes. This guy, he was always secretly watching me. Did he really think that I wouldn't notice? Chapter 7:12. There were not many little orcs in the owl tribe. There were thousands of orcs in the tribe, and there were less than 200 little orcs under the age of 10. Among these 200 little orcs, there were about 30 of them who could cultivate wizard power. Gu Xingyin also realized that orcs with weaker bodies, such as the deer tribe and the cat tribe, were more likely to have wizard power in their bodies than orcs with stronger bodies. For example, orcs like the tiger tribe and the lion tribe were naturally suited to be powerful warriors, but not suited to cultivate wizard power. After checking on the little orcs, Gu Xingyin announced her results on a day when the entire tribe was resting and praying. She read out the names one by one, and the orcs below started to get excited. When she finished reading out 30 names, the owl tribe was already boiling. They originally thought that having 5 or 6 little orcs who could cultivate wizard power in their tribe was already very powerful. This meant that the orcs might have 5 or 6 priests in the future. However, the high priest said that there were 30 of them. 30 priests, just thinking about it made the orcs' blood boil. Gu Xingyin looked at them and knew that even though he had said those words back then, they clearly hadn't understood what he meant. Although she said that the owl tribe would become the most powerful tribe, their thinking was still on the level of the tribe. Only when they were truly powerful could they have greater ambitions. She announced that for a long time in the future, these 30 little orcs would follow her and learn from her. As for the other orcs and little orcs, she did not give up. Instead, she gave the leader of the owl tribe a thick parchment. The parchment used simple orc language and lifelike pictures to tell the orcs what to do. According to the method on this parchment, you will most likely become warriors who are more powerful than priests. Gu Xingyin said loudly. To a large extent, these words were meant to encourage those warriors, because if they couldn't cultivate wizard power, it would be very difficult for them to achieve great things just by training their bodies. Unless that person had great perseverance, great wisdom, and great opportunities. Thinking of this, Gu Xingyin could not help but look at Orvis, who was among the male orcs. This was her lover, but she was not prepared to acknowledge him now. Without enough strength to crush the entire clan, if one wanted to be together with the most honorable high priest of the owl clan, it was absolutely impossible to get recognition. The orcs of the surrounding tribes discovered that the owl clan had recently become mysterious. Usually, they could always be seen during the day when they went out to hunt. Occasionally, the orcs would even fight over some prey. But now, the hunting time of the owl tribe's orcs during the day seemed to have been greatly shortened. Even if both sides besieged a prey at the same time, the owl tribe's orcs would give it to them when they were in a good mood. Many tribes felt that it was strange, and some even secretly wanted to find out what was going on. But how could the current owl clan let them succeed? The high priest had said that everything that the beast deity had told her was highly confidential and could not be revealed to outsiders in the short term. Otherwise, she would suffer the most severe punishment. As the leader of a tribe, Tammin understood the importance of these things. He even made every beast man swear in front of the beast god that they would never spread this information. The male orcs of the owl tribe really did not have time. During the day, they tried their best to hunt for the entire tribe's rations as fast as possible, went home early, and started practicing what the high priest had taught them. Time was the most precious thing. This was what the high priest had taught them. Chapter 7:13. What has the owl tribe been doing recently? The chief of the Li tribe, Gully, frowned. He was a powerful black panther. When he turned into a human, his eyes were deep and sharp. At this moment, his upper body was naked, and under his strong muscles was vigorous power. The Li tribe and the owl tribe were separated by a wide river. The two tribes were equal in strength, and they never gave up on each other. The owl tribe's defense was very tight. The Li tribe's orcs couldn't enter the owl tribe's territory. They could only roughly observe that the owl tribe seemed to be very anxious recently. No matter when they saw the owl tribe's male orcs, the other party was in a hurry. There's no big news coming out. It's definitely not a big deal. Why do you care about him? A charming voice came out. At the same time, a fluffy big tail wrapped around Gully's waist. Gully's eyebrows trembled, and his serious mouth hooked up into a smile. He took the little goblin into his arms. So flirtatious early in the morning. Didn't I satisfy you last night? As he said, his hand had already touched below. Vickers' gorgeous face flushed with his movements. The tail that was wrapped around Gully's waist began to rub his body more wantonly. Soon, he had a reaction. You little goblin. The following words were somewhat unclear. Outside the Li tribe's chief's tent, only Vickers' coquettish gasps could be heard. The owl tribe's orcs were very busy every day. The orcs didn't know what the little orc learned from the high priest every day. They also rarely asked the little orc. In their eyes, witchcraft had always been the most mysterious existence. They were not qualified to touch it. The male orcs who contacted according to the method on the parchment every day didn't feel any effect at first. Out of worship for the high priest, they persevered without hesitation. Until half a month later, they slowly found that the power in their bodies seemed to be stronger. In the past, in order to hunt for a whole day's rations for the whole tribe, the male orcs who were responsible for hunting had to go out for a whole day. These days, in order to find time to practice that set of moves, they began to finish their daily tasks as soon as possible and came back to practice as soon as possible. At first, they didn't notice the difference, but Gu Xingyin had been paying attention to the changes. At first, the orcs had to wait until it was almost dark before they could return. This was their normal strength. According to the time she was familiar with, it was about 5 in the afternoon. Gradually, when they returned, the sun hanging in the sky was getting higher and higher. Half a month later, this time had already been pushed forward by more than an hour. Tom Mang was both surprised and happy. He couldn't wait to tell Gu Xingyin the news. Lord High Priest, the Owl Clan thanks you. Thank you for the beast god's gift. Originally, the status of the patriarch was equivalent to that of the high priest, but now, Tom Mang had automatically placed himself one level lower than the high priest. His way of thinking was the same as all the other orcs. It was very simple, the strong would be the king. And Gu Xingyin was not only strong, she had made the entire Owl clan stronger. Gu Xingyin's current reputation in the Owl tribe was far greater than his, the clan leader. Even Tom Mang did not doubt that if the high priest wanted to remove his position as the clan leader, the people of the Owl tribe would not object. Even he would reflect on himself at the first moment, whether he had done something wrong. This was the power of faith. Chapter 7:14. Gu Xingyin did not object to Tom Mang's way of doing things. If she wanted to become the leader of the Owl tribe, she would need to stand in a superior position. And no matter how one looked at it, it was completely natural for her to be able to enjoy such treatment. Gu Xingyin, who had such strong power, even if she left the Owl tribe, she would be able to build a strong tribe that was not inferior to the Owl tribe in a short period of time. Tom Mang came today for another matter. High Priestess, the Beast Tribe Alliance will be held in the Li tribe in half a month. Tom Mang came to inform her of this matter. As the high priestess of the owl tribe, Gu Xingyin had to attend this kind of event. I understand. Gu Xingyin nodded. She was about to meet that Wei Ka. Gu Xingyin was even a little curious about the beautiful foxes who were rumored to have subdued countless powerful orcs under their skirts. Half a month was enough for the orcs of the owl tribe to realize the obvious changes in their strength. Their appearance did not seem to have changed much, but only they knew the changes inside. The orcs undoubtedly worshipped the high priestess even more for imparting the magical thing called cultivation method to them and turning them into this kind of person. During the Beast Tribe Alliance, the high priestess of the owl tribe, Wu Luo, and the tribe leader, Ta Meng, selected 100 of the most elite orcs in the tribe and went to the Li tribe. This kind of alliance was not only a platform for the major tribes to communicate with each other, but also an opportunity for the major tribes to show their strength. After every alliance, the power and reputation of the major tribes would undergo a new reshuffle. Ta Meng's heart was full of ambition. He had the intention to let the owl tribe show their strength in this alliance and show their strong strength to all their opponents. Gu Xingyin saw through his thoughts and did not feel that there was anything wrong. In this orc continent where the strong were respected, the only principle that everyone believed in besides the beast god was one: strength. Simply put, whoever had the biggest fist was the boss. What? You said to be reasonable? Sorry, I don't understand your logic in the beast-man world where even paper was not invented. This was also the reason why Gu Xingyin was so confident that the things in his hands were enough to establish a powerful empire in this world. As long as he became stronger, that would be the right thing to do. The representatives of the owl tribe were respectfully welcomed into the venue, while the representatives of many small tribes needed to find a suitable position for themselves. It was best to be conspicuous, but not too good. Those good spots belonged to the large tribes. Even if they came early and occupied them, they wouldn't be able to keep them. No one felt that there was anything wrong with such a rule. You want a better position? Sure, it's fine. Defeat that beastman tribe and this place will be yours. Gu Xingyin sat down at the seat that belonged to the owl clan. Ta Meng took the initiative to leave the seat of honor for her, and sat at the back of the seat. As the elite of the young beastmen in the tribe, Ovi's was a strong beastman who was very likely to compete for the next chief position. His seat was not far away from Gu Xingyin. He couldn't help but look at the high priestess, feeling happy and lonely. He was happy that he could keep looking at the high priestess like this, and lonely because he didn't know when the high priestess would notice him. He secretly made a decision in his heart. If he wanted to be seen by the high priestess, then he would work hard to become stronger. He would become the most powerful beastman, so powerful that no one could ignore him. Including her. Chapter 7:15. Ta Meng's actions attracted the attention of many tribes. However, most of them turned their heads away after a glance. The relationship between the tribe leader and the high priestess was usually very subtle. Some tribes' tribe leaders had more authority than the high priestess, while some tribes' high priestess had more faith than the tribe leader. This was a common occurrence. Ta Meng's actions only made them think that the high priestess had more faith in the owl tribe. However, most of the orcs turned their attention to Gu Xingyin. The young high priestess of the owl tribe was a female orc. She was a rare unicorn. Her transformation was perfect. When she was in her human form, the unicorn that was as beautiful as moonlight clearly showed her tribe. Legend had it that unicorns were the favorite children of the beast god. They had a beautiful appearance and unparalleled speed. They were the most beautiful scenery in the forest and grassland. Wu Luo was undoubtedly very beautiful. Her long silver hair reached her ankles. Her eyes and long hair of the same color complemented each other. Her skin was fairer than the average orc's. In addition, Wu Luo stayed in the house all year round without sunlight, so she looked even paler and more transparent. She wore a light, plain linen robe and sat there expressionlessly. She looked like a perfect and exquisite crystal statue. Many male beasts looked at Gu Xingyin with burning desire. Beast men like to conquer, especially male beasts. A female orc with such a noble status and such an outstanding appearance could easily attract the attention of all the male orcs. It could be said that in the owl tribe, as long as the high priestess said that she liked any male orc, all the male orcs would be extremely envious of that lucky guy. However, under such circumstances, the male orcs of the owl tribe were not very happy. What were those fellows from the other tribes looking at? Was our high priestess someone you could even dream of? Why don't you take a look at yourself? You look like a weakling. How dare you look at our high priestess? The male orcs of the owl tribe had already made a mental note of those orcs from other tribes who kept looking at Gu Xingyin's face. We'll treat you guys well during the friendly exchange later. The night was getting darker, and the bonfire was getting brighter. When the moon reached the center of the sky, the beast race conference finally began. As the organizers, the patriarch and high priest of the Li clan finally arrived. The high priest of the Li clan was an old beast man with shriveled skin. He was already very old, but there was no young priest in the Li tribe who could carry the burden of the high priest. He could only drag his old body and persevere until there was a beast man in the tribe who could inherit his position. What caught everyone's attention was that there was a beautiful female beast man beside Gu Li, the patriarch of the Li clan. Her eyes were big and charming, and when she looked at others, there was always some affection in them. This female beast was wearing a small vest made of animal skin. Her white arms and legs were exposed. When she walked, her waist swayed gently, and the fluffy tail behind her swayed gently with her movements. She was truly a stunning beauty. Gu Xingyin sighed. Orcs were creatures with strong instincts. They were always straightforward about their desires. Gu Xingyin saw that many male beasts couldn't help swallowing their saliva as Vicar walked over. Chapter 7:16. Gu Li walked to the seat that belonged to him. Gu Xingyin saw that the most honorable seat of the Li clan was occupied by the clan leader, while the old high priest was supported by the other orcs to sit in the seat behind. Then, something that no one expected happened. That Fox clan female beast actually sat on Gu Li's thigh in front of everyone. The Owl clan was powerful, so the seat of the Owl clan was beside the organizer, the Li clan. As the number one person of the Owl clan's first seat, Gu Xingyin and Gu Li's seats were almost adjacent. Vicar's seat was equivalent to sitting on equal footing with the Owl clan's high priest. The orcs of the Owl clan's expressions turned ugly on the spot. The first seat represented the status of a tribe. The strength of the Li clan was equivalent to the Owl clan. They could tolerate the Li clan's clan leader and the high priest sitting in the same position. But what was that female beast? Why should she be on equal footing with the high priest? Not only the Owl clan, but many orcs from the other tribes also had ugly expressions. In their opinion, the Li clan's behavior was clearly a demonstration to the other tribes. They all looked in the direction of the Owl clan. As the only tribe on this great plain that could contend with the Li clan, the Owl clan was the only tribe present that was qualified to make trouble. The people of the Owl clan looked at Gu Xingyin. The fact that the high priest was sitting at the head of the table meant that the entire Owl clan was following her lead. In fact, many male beasts on the Owl clan's side could not hold it in anymore. The current Gu Xingyin was already infinitely deified in their hearts. No one could have the slightest bit of disrespect to the high priest. If Gu Xingyin admitted to this kind of thing, not only would the Owl clan lose face in front of the major tribes, but it would also cause her reputation to plummet among the Owl clan. Of course, she could not be afraid. So Gu Xingyin stood up. Her fair and delicate hand held a very smooth and exquisite cane. At the top of the cane, there was a ferocious-looking bird carved on it. This was the totem that the Owl tribe believed in, a ferocious bird called Ruthless Owl. Gu Xingyin turned her head and looked down at the Li clan leader who was sitting on his seat. What is the Li clan's intention? Gu Li's expression changed. He wasn't someone who didn't know the gravity of the situation. He also knew that doing such a thing in this kind of situation would easily offend people. But Vicar made him feel really comfortable on the bed. He didn't know why he couldn't stand her pestering and promised her when he was in a daze, which led to this scene just now. Since he had already offended the other party, he could not admit defeat at this time. Gu Li pretended to be indifferent. This is Vicar, my female beast. I love her very much. As the high priest of the Owl tribe, Wu Luo Pavilion won't be so stingy, right? After he finished speaking, he seemed to hear a cold laugh from the woman who was so beautiful that she didn't seem real. However, upon closer inspection, the woman's expression didn't seem to have changed at all. The next moment, Gu Xingyin's cane flashed with white light. The throne that Gu Li was sitting on, which was said to have taken a long time to make with the most gorgeous and sturdy metal, was instantly torn apart. Fortunately, he had good skills. At the crucial moment, he jumped with Vicar in his arms, and finally avoided the joke of falling on his back. But even so, Gu Li, who came back to his senses, still looked at Gu Xingyin in horror. Not only Gu Li, but all the orcs from the tribes present, even the orcs from the owl tribe, also looked at Gu Xingyin in shock. Chapter 717. This seemingly weak high priestess of the owl tribe actually had such tyrannical power? Although they knew that sorcerer power was a very magical power, was it really that powerful? The male beasts of the owl tribe also looked at their high priestess with amazement and admiration. Although they knew that the high priestess who claimed to be blessed by the beast deity was definitely not that simple, they never thought that the high priestess would actually be so tyrannical. That was a throne made of gilt stone. Even the leader of the owl tribe, Ta Meng, who claimed to be the most powerful person in the owl tribe, admitted that he did not have the confidence to break it with one blow. But just now, no one even saw clearly how Wu Luo made his move. The one who was the most shocked was Gu Li. At this moment, his back was already drenched in cold sweat. Leopard prints even appeared on his face uncontrollably. This was an uncontrollable physiological reaction of orcs when facing a strong enemy. Gu Li even thought that if the other party wanted to take his life just now, would he have already turned into a pile of fragments like the throne? He did not think that his body would be stronger than the gilt stone. Gu Xingyin stood there quietly after the blow just now. She still looked at Gu Li expressionlessly. If I were a little more stingy, the Li tribe would have to change its leader. Gu Li was actually rendered speechless by her words. The high priestess of the owl clan was not wrong at all. If she really wanted to harm him, with her unimaginable methods, he really wouldn't be able to escape. He forced a laugh. I did not think it through. This was an apology for his behavior. Gu Xingyin then swept her gaze towards Vicar. Vicar felt that when she was swept by this gaze, it was as if she was instantly surrounded by an annoying winter. She even could not help but shiver. Her perennial smiling face stiffened for a moment. Then, she suddenly understood what Gu Xingyin meant. A wave of embarrassment surged from the bottom of her heart. But looking at Gu Li, who did not dare to say anything, she bit her lips and consciously walked out from his side. She bowed towards Gu Xingyin. I am sorry, High Priestess, I broke the rules. Gu Xingyin waited until she finished bowing before finally retracting her gaze. She looked at Gu Li and said, when a subordinate oversteps the rules, it is because the superior does not govern strictly. The owl tribe disdains to participate in an alliance held by such a tribe. After she finished speaking, she turned and glanced in the direction of the owl tribe. Ta Meng instantly understood what she meant. He stood up and shouted behind him, warriors, let's stand up and return to the tribe. All the orcs of the tribes watched the owl tribe's members, under the lead of the high priestess of the tribe, left the land slowly. As for the Li clan beast men, they were still in shock from Gu Xingyin's attack. Not a single beast man dared to stop them. They were openly shedding all pretense of cordiality. Originally, although the owl tribe and the Li tribe did not get along well, they had never confronted each other on the surface. Looking at the owl tribe and the orcs walking further and further away, some leaders of the small tribes made a decision in their hearts. Chief Gu Li, there are still some things in my tribe that have not been dealt with. I will leave first. There are also some things in my tribe that have not been dealt with. I will leave first. In just a short moment, most of the tribes in the entire site had left. Most of the ones who stayed were those who had a good relationship with the Li tribe, or those who did not want to be involved in the conflict between the two tribes. Damn it. Gu Li looked at the scene that suddenly became deserted and finally could not help but roar angrily. Chapter 718. Vicar looked at them carefully, for fear that Gu Li would be angry with him. Although he was a very good lover, his temper was also very violent in daily life. Vickers' mind turned quickly, and he couldn't help but think of the high priest of the owl tribe. Although the status of females was precious, it corresponded to their weakness. At the end of the day, females were like precious pets that were kept in captivity. Vickers seemed to have a noble status in the Li tribe and was sought after by everyone, but in fact, without the pursuit of those male beasts, he was nothing. But the high priest was different. Although she was a female, she had the noblest status in the whole tribe. This status was not given to her by her identity as a female, but by her own ability. The way the male beasts of the owl tribe looked at her was completely different from the way the male beasts of the Li tribe looked at him. The male beasts of the Li tribe looked at him with only desire in their eyes, while the male beasts of the owl tribe looked at their high priest with respect and admiration from the bottom of their hearts. Vicker clearly remembered the way the high priest looked at him, as if he was an insignificant dust, and there was no reflection in her eyes. He was simply so high and mighty that it was disgusting. Vicker lowered his eyes and hid all his ambitions deep in his eyes. On the side of the owl tribe, all the male beasts looked at their high priest with excitement. In fact, they were very curious. How did the high priest do it just now? High priest. Meng couldn't help but speak. Gu Xingyin turned to look at him. Meng hesitated and didn't know how to speak. You want to ask me how I did it? Gu Xingyin naturally continued his words. Meng nodded and said with embarrassment, High priest, if you find it troublesome, you don't have to, it's very simple, Gu Xingyin replied. She turned around and looked at more than 100 pairs of shining eyes. Practice the skills I taught you well, and you can do it too. Ovis couldn't help but say, Are you serious? High priest? Then, will I be as powerful as the high priest one day? For the first time, Gu Xingyin carefully looked at Orvis. After a long while, he clenched his fists nervously and said, Nothing is impossible. Although his words were mostly encouraging, Orvis couldn't help but smile. He was from the Golden Lion race, the most powerful race among the beast men. His innate strength was incomparably powerful, and his brilliant golden hair was as domineering as his master's personality. In front of Gu Xingyin, Orvis was just a shy orc who had yet to reach adulthood. However, his companions only knew about him when they were hunting. Then, Gu Xingyin's next words made him overjoyed. I need a guard. Orvis, are you willing? Orvis's first reaction was, the high priestess actually remembers me? His second reaction was, what did the high priestess just say? He looked around blankly and realized that his companions were looking at him with envy and jealousy. Then, he confirmed that the high priestess just asked him if he was willing to be her guard. I'm willing. Chapter 719. Orvis had never been so grateful to the beast god before. He felt that it must be the beast god's protection that allowed him to gain the high priestess' favor. Meng patted his shoulder happily and jealously. You little brat, protect the high priestess well in the future. Although, he did not think that the high priestess would need someone else's protection with her power. Meng suddenly thought of something. His heart could not help but race as he looked at Gu Xingyin with a burning gaze. High priestess, the 30 children of the owl tribe. His voice was slightly agitated. Gu Xingyin immediately understood what he meant. She nodded without hesitation. They will definitely be able to do what they did today. Only to do what they did? The power that the high priestess spoke of was like music to the ears of Meng and the rest. Before Wu Luo, Meng had never seen such a powerful high priestess. But today, Wu Luo said that the 30 children that she taught personally would be so powerful in the future. For the first time, Meng had an ambition in his heart. According to this development, the future of the owl tribe would be limitless. Wu Luo must be the messenger sent by the beast god to bring prosperity to the owl tribe. After returning to the owl tribe, Gu Xingyin continued to focus on teaching the 30 little orcs. In the future, these 30 orcs would be her representatives. They would replace her to find suitable people in the owl tribe who were suitable to cultivate sorcery power and pass down the cultivation method. Other than that, she still had 2 things to do. The first thing was Orvis. Do you want to become stronger? She looked at the orc in front of her who had yet to grow up. Orvis was now between a teenager and an adult. His features were handsome and there was a hint of youthful handsomeness. Yes. Orvis answered without hesitation. How strong do you want to be? Gu Xingyin asked. She wanted to know how ambitious this male orc was. Orvis hesitated and looked at Gu Xingyin. It's okay. I want to hear the truth. Gu Xingyin encouraged him. Orvis looked at Gu Xingyin seriously and said in a firm voice, I want to be stronger than you, High Priestess. I want to be the most powerful orc in the orc continent. All right. Gu Xingyin couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Her eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile. He really didn't disappoint her. Orvis, on the other hand, was stunned by this rare beauty. When Lord Wu Luo laughed, it was as if a ray of sunlight had suddenly shone on a mountain peak covered in snow all year round. It easily caught everyone's attention. Fortunately, he was the only one here. Orvis thought to himself. He was the only one who could see such a beautiful scene. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a sweetness in his heart. What are you thinking about? Orvis snapped out of his daze and saw that the person in front of him had already retracted his smile and returned to his cold self. Orvis lied without changing his expression. I'm thinking about how to become stronger. Nonsense. Do you think I didn't see your idiotic smile? Gu Xingyin complained in her heart. However, she calmly took out a roll of parchment. This is an extremely precious item. Look at it carefully and remember it. Remember, don't show it to anyone. After you're done, burn it. Chapter 720. Orvis took the item nervously. If Wu Luo was so careful with it, it must be very precious. He couldn't help but ask, is it just for me? He didn't know why, but when he thought of this possibility, he couldn't help but feel happy. Gu Xingyin nodded, you're the only beastman in the entire beastman continent who's learning it. This was an extremely powerful and cruel body tempering technique. Gu Xingyin knew about it when she was in the sword cultivator continent. A peerless genius who was born without a sword heart relied on this body tempering technique to become an honorable martial artist. After him, there were countless people who didn't have the aptitude for sword cultivation who wanted to use this technique to reach the heavens in a single bound. However, none of them persisted. Most of them died under the harsh and cruel training. It was so difficult that if one wasn't careful, they could really lose their lives. Gu Xingyin asked Orvis seriously, this technique can only make you the strongest person in the Beastman continent. It can't be guaranteed. Moreover, it's very dangerous. You may lose your life because of it. She added, I have some other techniques here. Although they can't be compared to this, they can guarantee that you can safely become a strong person. You don't have to take this risk. No need, Orvis answered firmly, I'm willing to try this. If I can't become the most dazzling one, how can you really set your sights on me? Gu Xingyin's eyes revealed a slight smile, all right then. I hope that I can see the day when you're strong enough to conquer the entire Beastman continent. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me anytime. Orvis left. Gu Xingyin stretched out her hand and rubbed her forehead. She was taking a risk by giving this to Orvis. To be honest, this technique definitely couldn't appear in the Beastman continent. However, Orvis was her lover. Although Gu Xingyin couldn't confirm his true identity, she could faintly sense that his identity wasn't simple. Therefore, she tried to take a gamble. She gambled that the world's laws would not be able to detect it, or rather, they would not be able to control him. He didn't expect that when he gave the cultivation technique to Orvis, it really didn't cause any ripples in the laws of the world. However, he was probably the only one. This was also the reason why Gu Xingyin sternly warned Orvis to burn it down after memorizing it. The other reason was the danger of cultivating this technique. Gu Xingyin was not very worried about this. Based on her understanding of her lover, his status in every world and his luck was as good as hers, the main characters. Such a person would not meet with an accident so easily. After settling the matter with Orvis, Gu Xingyin started working on the second matter. She sat cross-legged on the bed and closed her eyes. She did not move, but her powerful divine sense spread out. She saw Orvis opening the sheepskin scroll in her room and reading it carefully. She saw that most of the male beasts were practicing the body tempering technique that she taught them. She saw that the female beasts were cleaning up today's prey. She even saw a pair of beastmen. Gu Xingyin's divine sense paused for a moment. Then, it sped up and spread out. It crossed the wide river and reached the distant Li tribe. She came to the place where Vicar was. Chapter 721. Vicar was sitting alone in the room in a daze. Vicar. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in her mind. Who is it? Vicar's face changed, and he looked around. Don't look for me. You can't see me. Gu Xingyin said in Vicar's mind. Vicar's face was a little panicked, but he still tried to keep calm. Who are you? Why are you looking for me? What was she afraid of? She had never encountered such a thing. The voice did not answer her question, but asked, Do you want to be strong? Vicar was moved, but he did not speak. Do you want to be worshipped by all the orcs, and let them recognize your status, instead of being obsessed with your body? Although the voice was very cold, Vicar felt that there was a kind of magic in her words. Moreover, every word was right in his heart. How could he not want to? But Vicar knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. She wandered among countless male beasts in the Li tribe and easily won their hearts. She relied not only on the beauty of her body. What can you bring me? What price do I have to pay? Vicar asked cautiously. Gu Xingyin praised her in her heart. She was indeed a fox girl. She was so delicate that she caught the key point at once. Like the beast god, swear allegiance to me. She said. I can tell you how to be strong, and let the holy tribe belong to you. Let the holy tribe belong to you. This sentence was like thunder in Vicar's mind. She unconsciously thought of the high priest of the Owl clan that day. She was so high and mighty. Her appearance was so beautiful, but in the entire Owl clan, not a single male beast dared to look at her disrespectfully. This was the benefit of strength and power. I need to think about it. Vicar said with difficulty. Well, I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, I'll come and ask for your answer. The room was quiet again. Vicar did not know if the mysterious person had really left. She tried to call out, but there was no response. After thinking for a while, she laughed self-deprecatingly. With the other party's miraculous means, if he really wanted to deal with her, it would be a simple matter. He wouldn't even need to spend much effort. Gu Xingyin retracted her spiritual consciousness and opened her eyes. She knew that Vicar would not refuse her. On that day, she clearly saw the unwillingness and ambition in Vicar's eyes. A female beast with such a gaze would definitely not be willing to become the exclusive offspring of a male beast. With her looks, the only way out for her was to become stronger. He had become even stronger than those male beasts who coveted her. As early as the moment she saw Vicar, Gu Xingyin made this decision. A woman like Vicar, if used well, would be a sharp blade. Having such a subordinate was much better than having such an enemy, wasn't it? 3 days later, Gu Xingyin got a positive answer from Vicar. Beast God above, I, Vicar, hereby swear that I will be loyal to Master Wu Luo for the rest of my life. Vicar made an oath according to the words Gu Xingyin gave her. When she knew that this person was Wu Luo, she was surprised. But after the surprise, she felt relieved. A female beast like her, what could she not do? Chapter 722. After Vicar made the vow, he felt as if something had come to him in the dark. She was a little scared. Was the beast god watching her? She had some thoughts in her heart, but now she hid them deep in her heart. Close your eyes. Gu Xingyin said lightly. Vicar closed her eyes, and soon, something went into her mind like a tide. Every 10 days, I will come here. If you don't understand anything, you can come to me. Gu Xingyin said. I will give you this, and the rest is up to you. I hope that after a year, you can completely control the Li clan in your own hands. After she finished, she withdrew her divine sense from Vicar's mind, leaving Vicar alone in a daze. She passed on to Vicar a secret cultivation method of the Fox clan. Although it was called a secret cultivation method, it was not a profound cultivation method, but something more like a charm. This kind of cultivation method was the best for Vicar, a female beast of the Fox clan. She was originally gifted, and now with this, Gu Xingyin had no doubt that she could make all the male beasts who had touched her to be loyal to her. 1 year, Gu Xingyin thought carefully. By then, the overall strength of the owl clan should have a qualitative improvement. The little orcs who had been taught by her for almost 2 years had been able to use wizard power skillfully, and with the help of the Li clan. It was almost time. Teacher. A crisp voice sounded outside the door. Gu Xingyin smiled when he heard that. This was one of the first batch of little orcs who had wizard power detected by her. She let these 30 little orcs call her teacher. And this little orc was the only little unicorn among them. Moreover, she had no parents. The number of unicorns was extremely rare. At that time, the male beasts of the owl clan also rescued this precious little female beast from the mouth of a beast when they were hunting, and raised her in the clan until now. This little unicorn named Alice was Gu Xingyin's loyal fan, and also the one with the strongest wizard power among all the little orcs. Come in, Gu Xingyin said. The little girl skipped into the room. She was only 10 years old this year. She had long silver white hair like Gu Xingyin's, reaching her waist. The only difference between her and Gu Xingyin was that her transformation had not fully matured yet. There was a delicate white horn on her small head, which made her look very cute. Teacher. She carefully stretched out her hand that was hidden behind her back. In her hand, she was holding a bouquet of beautiful flowers. There were even a few drops of morning dew on the petals. It was obvious that they had just been plucked. It was obvious that the little girl had spent a long time looking for these flowers. Every single one of them had bloomed at their most beautiful time. Gu Xingyin could not resist such an obedient and cute little girl. She solemnly accepted little Alice's gift and said seriously, "Thank you, Alice. Teacher likes you very much." When Orvis entered the room, he saw a scene that made his heart tremble. Gu Xingyin half squatted down and allowed the little unicorn girl with the same silver white hair to place a delicate and beautiful flower in her hair. He realized that Master Wu Luo would always be extra gentle towards little children. Master Wu Luo really liked little children. He wondered if she had her own little orc. He thought about how there would be a little soft orc like Master Wu Luo in the future. Orvis felt that not only his heart, but even the tips of his ears were burning. Chapter 723. A lot of things could happen in a year's time. For example, the 30 little orcs who learned from Gu Xingyin were able to successfully use the wizard power in their bodies and use some small spells. Systematic learning and self-exploration were two completely different levels. The little orcs now, in terms of the accumulation of wizard power, were not weaker than the priests in the ordinary tribes. One had to know that the oldest among them was only 11 years old. The male orcs of the owl tribe had also greatly improved their overall strength. The longer the time, the more they could feel the changes in their bodies and strength. Now, it only took them 1 day to hunt for a day's worth of food for the whole tribe. The orcs who had tasted the benefits of strength would spend more time on practicing their skills. This was a virtuous cycle. Gu Xingyin also taught the female orcs in the tribe to distinguish some wild plants that could be eaten and some things that could be used as seasoning that had never been discovered before. She also taught them that there were more ways to cook food than boiling and roasting. The life of the owl tribe had unknowingly far exceeded the average level of this world. There was also Vicar of the Li tribe. The name of the fox girl could be said to be famous in the nearby tribes recently. The old high priest of the Li tribe could not hold on after all and left this world for the embrace of the beast god. The remaining priests of the Li tribe competed with each other to become the new high priest. However, what everyone did not expect was that Vicar suddenly rose at this time. With the support of many supporters, she suppressed all the voices of opposition with thunderous means and became the new high priest of the Li tribe. Vicar didn't show any mercy to the Li clan's people who opposed this matter. He sent them all to see the former high priest. Undoubtedly, compared to the opponents, she had more supporters. Even Gu Xingyin had to admire the ability of the fox girl. What she taught her was only a set of skills. Vicar could achieve this step mostly by her own strength. She did not know how she did it. The overbearing Black Panther tribe leader of the Li tribe actually followed her lead. In the Li tribe, the authority of the high priest now surpassed that of the tribe leader. In this case, of course, Vicar quickened the pace of consolidating his strength. The entire Li clan was basically under his control. Of course, what surprised Gu Xingyin the most was Orvis. It had only been a year. Although she already knew that Orvis was definitely a genius with extraordinary talent, the speed of his improvement still surprised her. He had survived the most difficult time. In the beginning, Gu Xingyin had seen him a few times. He was so thin that he was just a pair of bones. Even his cheeks were deeply sunken. Even Tammin asked Gu Xingyin anxiously what had happened to Orvis. Why did he become like this? After all, ever since he became Gu Xingyin's personal bodyguard, Orvis no longer had to hunt with the orcs in the tribe every day. His mission was to follow Gu Xingyin closely. Fortunately, after half a year of adaptation, Orvis finally returned to normal. However, Gu Xingyin slowly realized that she could not understand this lion that was getting stronger and stronger. Chapter 724. In a year's time, Orvis had officially entered the stage of adulthood. His body grew taller rapidly and his originally thin body started to become stronger. His face also became more handsome and deep. His bright golden hair shone brightly under the sun. The charm of the golden lion started to show from his body. Gu Xingyin had seen more than once that there were female beasts in the owl tribe who were hinting at him. However, Orvis was no longer the young and inexperienced lion cub. He could make people dizzy with a charming smile and then say cruel words of rejection without giving people any hope. When the female beasts in the owl tribe talked about Orvis, their faces were filled with pity and shock. They wondered what kind of female beasts could win his heart. No one would link it to the high priest. This was because Gu Xingyin was no longer just the messenger of the beast deity in the hearts of the owl tribe members. Many beasts even felt that Master Wu Luo must be the incarnation of the beast deity. Otherwise, how could she know so many things and bring the owl tribe to such a prosperous state? If Master Wu Luo was compared to ordinary female beasts, it would be a blasphemy to her. Master Wu Luo, Orvis's deep voice rang out. Gu Xingyin let him in. When the tall and handsome man walked in, Gu Xingyin only felt that the entire room seemed to light up in an instant. This man was always unscrupulously releasing his masculine charm. When he looked at people with his dark golden eyes, it seemed that there was always a sharp sense of aggression. If it were anyone else, it would only make people feel disgusted when they looked at someone like that. However, Orvis seemed to be born with such an aura. Under his gaze, people would only feel oppressed and nervous as if space was being occupied. However, it was obvious that Gu Xingyin did not belong to this group of people. What's the matter? She asked. Orvis nodded and stared at her with his deep eyes. I want to challenge Master Tameng tonight. In his eyes, there was a burning fighting spirit and passion, an ambition that could not be extinguished. Did Gu Xingyin not mean anything? In fact, she already found it unbelievable that Orvis could endure until now. Defeating Tameng is not difficult for the people of today. When Ao Weiss heard this, he smiled gently. He looked at Gu Xingyin with a strange gaze and said, Lord Wu Luo, if I defeat Lord Tameng tonight and become the #1 warrior of the owl tribe, can you promise me a request? Gu Xingyin glanced at him and said calmly, you have the nerve to ask for a mission that is not challenging at all? His uncourteous tone made Orvis laugh out loud. Lord Wu Luo was perfect and impeccable in front of everyone. He was cold and courteous to everyone, but now, he was starting to blame himself. What did this mean? In her heart, he was different from others, right? Orvis felt as if there was a pool of clear water in the bottom of his heart, and Lord Wu Luo's words were like a stone thrown into that pool of clear water, causing endless waves to surge out. He could not help but cover his chest with his hand. It was already getting harder and harder to control the impulse in his heart. Chapter 725. At night, more than half of the orcs from the owl tribe gathered together to watch the battle between the warriors. Tribal leader Tammin had always been the #1 warrior in the tribe, but everyone had seen Ovis's improvement over the past year. Moreover, he was following Master Wu Luo. Just this point alone was enough to make all the orcs not dare to underestimate him. Everyone knew that Master Wu Luo's methods were not something that ordinary orcs could think of. If Ovis was taught by her and became very powerful, they would understand. Gu Shengyin was invited to sit on the highest platform in the center and watch the battle from above. She did not need to watch to know the result. No one knew Ovis's true abilities better than she did. He had already surpassed the limits of a normal orc's abilities. At first, the two of them were still testing each other in their human forms. Not long after, the orc's aggressive nature was stimulated and they all revealed their beast forms. Tammin's beast form was a titan, a powerful beast that was one of the kings of the forest. His beast form was very tall and had a dark body. The most eye-catching part was his long and powerful arms with sharp claws hidden under his palms. No one dared to underestimate the abilities of an adult titan. However, everyone's attention was attracted by the giant beast on the other side. Even Gu Shengyin, although she had seen Ovis's beast form before, was still shocked every time she saw it. The lion that stood quietly had golden fur without any impurities. Under the contrast of the bonfire, it looked as if its entire body was bathed in light. Its body was strong and graceful, and its dark golden eyes looked coldly at the opponent in front of it. It was like a mythical beast that symbolized benevolence and power in the tribe's myths and legends. Many female orcs looked at Ovis with infatuation and resentment. Many of them had expressed their feelings for Ovis before, but they were all coldly rejected without exception. Ovis felt a gaze on him. He knew who it was the only person he cared about. His body tensed up unconsciously. Ovis swore to himself that he had to win this battle beautifully. Roar! The two giant beasts roared and tangled together. The orcs who were watching all shouted excitedly. To them, being able to watch such a powerful battle was a very glorious thing. I lost. The Black Titan said in a deep voice. The huge golden lion was pressing down on him, its sharp fangs pressing against his neck. Tammin had no doubt that if they were in the forest and he was facing an enemy, then this fang would have already bitten his throat. Ovis let go of the chief and retreated to the side. His body gradually transformed back into human form. The first thing he did was look at Gu Shengyin, who was on the high platform. When he saw the look of admiration in the high priest's eyes, his ears twitched involuntarily. This was a reaction of extreme excitement in his heart. Tammin also returned to his human form. Although he was in Ovis's hands, he looked very happy. Good lad, you're amazing. He laughed heartily and patted Ovis's shoulder. The more powerful the young beastmen were, the better it was for the owl tribe. Tammin didn't feel that losing was shameful. If they really wanted to compete for strength, there was still a powerful high priest in the family that people looked up to. Chapter 726. Gu Shengyin stood up. All the beast men looked at her. Even Tammin stood respectfully at the side, waiting for her to announce the result. Gu Shengyin stood at the highest point and looked at the beast men on the ground. She said, I announce that the golden lion, Ovis, is the winner of this competition. He will become the new leader of the owl tribe and lead the owl tribe to a stronger future. Tammin was the first to move. He turned around and bowed to Ovis. Tammin greets the clan leader. He was not dissatisfied. The strongest was the king. This had always been the rule of the Orc continent. Even his own position as the patriarch was won by defeating the old patriarch back then. Ovis quickly supported him. Uncle Tammin, I still have much to learn from you in the future. Tammin's actions seemed to have influenced the rest of the beast men. They all copied Tammin's actions and bowed to Ovis in unison. Greetings to the great clan leader. Ovis was a little excited. He looked at the beast men bowing to him and a surge of excitement spread from the bottom of his heart. Was this the taste of power and status? He did not miss this feeling. What made him happy was that he was one step closer to Lord Wuluo. Orvis returned to his house as usual at night. His room was very close to Gu Xingyin. This was also the treatment he enjoyed after becoming the High Priestess' personal guard. As a male, he could not live in the same house as the female High Priestess. However, as her personal guard, he could not be too far away from her. Hence, the Owl tribe worked day and night outside the High Priestess' house to build this house. He became the new leader of the Owl tribe but did not break away from his identity as the High Priestess' personal guard. The people in the tribe did not say anything. Fortunately, they did not say anything. Otherwise, Orvis was sure that if he had to choose between being Lord Wuluo's personal guard and being the clan leader of the Owl tribe, he would definitely choose the former without hesitation. Lord Wuluo, are you looking for me? Orvis was a little excited. Lord Wuluo rarely asked to see him. He did not know what was the matter this time. Orvis. Gu Xingyin called his name. Orvis felt that hearing his name from the High Priestess was exceptionally pleasant to the ears. He looked at Gu Xingyin as if he was asking for her opinion. Have you ever thought of ruling this continent with me? Gu Xingyin went straight to the point, dropping a bombshell right off the bat. A.O. Weiss blinked. He knew Lord Wuluo very well. From the series of things that Lord Wuluo had done over the past year, A.O. Weiss had already guessed that Lord Wuluo was not satisfied with letting the Owl tribe hide in this small plain. However, A.O. Weiss had never thought that Lord Wuluo would have such great ambitions. Ruling over the entire mainland? After the initial shock, Orvis was filled with excitement. The ambition and desire to conquer were innate in the male beast's bones. Just thinking about what Gu Xingyin had said made his eyes light up. He looked at Gu Xingyin with a burning gaze. She was indeed the High Priestess. If she was an ordinary female beast, who would have the courage to say such words? What do I need to do? He knew that Lord Wuluo must have his own thoughts for him to ask such a question. What do you need to do? Gu Xingyin suddenly smiled. Just fight. Chapter 727. Gu Xingyin had thought about how to build a never-before-seen orc empire, but after thinking of many methods, she realized that none of them was faster and more effective than the simple and violent method of fighting. This world was originally a simple one that followed the law of the jungle. Then, the best way to convince others was to use force to conquer them. The current Owl tribe had the capital to do this. After Gu Xingyin finished speaking, she was about to ask Orvis for his opinion, but when she turned around, she realized that he was looking at her in a daze. Orvis had seen the High Priestess smile before. When she faced the little orcs, her expression would become exceptionally gentle, and she would even occasionally reveal a gentle smile. Sometimes, he would even be jealous of those little orcs. However, it was different today. It was his first time seeing Master Wuluo smile like that. Her eyes were filled with pride and confidence, and the determined smile on her lips was so dazzling that he could not take his eyes off her. He couldn't control his restless heart. He really wanted to pull Master Wuluo into his arms and make this stunning moonlight completely belong to him. When he came back to his senses, he saw Master Wuluo looking at him with a faint smile. Her eyes were like the clearest lake on top of a snowy mountain. Time and everything could be clearly reflected in her eyes. At this moment, Orvis only had one thought: it's over. The High Priestess has discovered my feelings. He was a little flustered and did not know how to react. After his expression changed countless times, he finally mustered up the courage to look at Gu Xingyin. If she knew, then so be it. Anyway, he could not hide it forever, right? Gu Xingyin watched his expression change with interest. Finally, when he made up his mind and looked at her, she opened her mouth and said, "You have desires for me." It was not a question, but a tone of absolute certainty. She had indeed seen through it. Orvis did not know why, but after hearing this, he actually heaved a sigh of relief, as if something in his heart had finally been put down. He looked at Gu Xingyin nervously, but his words were resolute and decisive. Yes. After saying his answer, he lowered his head and waited anxiously for the next trial. Will High Priest Dren be angry that I dare to covet her? Or would she just throw him out of here? Or, the male beast of Wu Luo, must be the strongest and noblest orc on this mainland, a faint voice rang in his ears. Orvis raised his head in surprise, only to see Gu Xingyin's calm face. He carefully pondered the meaning of these words, and then a burst of ecstasy surged in his heart. Just as he was about to say something, a surge of energy suddenly rushed into his body, and he flew out of the room uncontrollably. Orvis, who had landed safely, looked at the door that was tightly shut after he came out. He couldn't hide the excitement on his face. Lord Wu Luo did not reject him. She said that she would only accept the most powerful and honorable beastmen on the Beastmen continent, but she clearly said to him that she wanted to rule this continent with him. Did this mean that in Lord Wu Luo's heart, he had actually accepted him? Beast deity above, if this is a dream, please don't let him wake up. Chapter 728. With Gu Xingyin's words, Orvis was obviously full of energy. The next day, he gathered the backbone members of the Owl tribe and announced the news. Orcs were all warlike. The words of the new chieftain made a group of people high-spirited. Many orcs were eager to follow the chieftain and bring glory to the Owl tribe. Orvis's lips curled into a confident smile. He knew that no beastman could refuse such a proposal. When no tribe in the whole plains noticed, the Owl tribe had entered an emergency state of war. The whole tribe began to be busy. The male orcs went out to hunt as much prey as possible. The female orcs processed all kinds of food day and night, preparing dry food and clothes to keep warm in the cold. Far away in the Li tribe, Vicar, who was enjoying the warmth of a male orc, suddenly received Gu Xingyin's order. The Li tribe began to prepare for war as soon as possible. She was moved and understood that the Owl tribe was going to take action. Pushing away the big furry head on her chest, Vicar smiled and said, "Baruth, I have something to ask of you." The orc named Baruth looked at Vicar with infatuation and nodded when he heard her words. 3 months, this was the time that Orvis gave the orcs of the Owl tribe to prepare. It was also the deadline that Gu Xingyin gave to Vicar. 3 months later, a sudden lightning attack launched by the Owl clan swept across the entire plains. The surrounding tribes did not even have time to react before they were defeated by the fierce attack of the Owl tribe. It was at this time that they saw the ferocious fangs hidden under the calm appearance of the Owl tribe, who had not made any big movements for a long time. In the face of absolute strength, these tribes had no room to resist. And as if they had discussed it, when the Owl tribe launched the attack, the Li tribe also launched the attack on the surrounding tribes. Although their actions were not as fierce as the Owl tribe, the Li tribe was still the overlord on the other side of the river. The territories of the two tribes were approaching step by step. This kind of war lasted for 2 years. The Owl tribe had completely unified the entire plains on this side of the river. Just as everyone was guessing that they would set their sights on the other side of the river, Orvis gave the order to recuperate. Sir Wu Luo, A.O. Weiss personally brought the thin slices of meat to Gu Xingyin's tent. After years of war, it was naturally impossible for them to have a fixed residence. Gu Xingyin seized the opportunity to invent tents that were extremely suitable for marching and fighting. Orvis felt his heart ache when he saw the high priestess. Running about outside all year round naturally did not affect the strong physiques of the male beasts. However, Lord Wu Luo's body was notoriously weak. This kind of life made her originally pale to the point of being almost transparent, even more pale. Looking at her made one feel as if she would shatter into pieces with just a little bit of force. In fact, Gu Xingyin wasn't as weak as they had imagined. In fact, her body might not be any weaker than some male orcs, as the wizard power in her body had already reached a terrifying level. However, she didn't know what was going on with this body. Only she knew what was going on inside. In the eyes of outsiders, she was indeed so delicate that even the wind didn't dare to blow on her body. Chapter 729. The thin slices of meat were placed on the crisp and juicy leaves, emitting a rich aroma. It was so appetizing. Gu Xingyin said helplessly, "Okay, Orvis, I'm not as weak as you think." This man, as long as he was free, he would always follow her closely. It was as if he was afraid that something would happen to Gu Xingyin if he was not around. Orvis did not answer this question. He just gently handed the plate in his hand to Gu Xingyin. His actions were clearly saying to Gu Xingyin, "I don't believe your words." Gu Xingyin sighed inwardly. He knew in his heart that his appearance was probably not very convincing. She reckoned that if she insisted that her body was fine and told the Owl tribe's orcs not to worry, it was very likely that she would be molded into a glorious image of someone who took the lead for the tribe and did not care about the safety of her own body. Gu Xingyin felt that her image in the Owl tribe was already glorious enough. If she were to ask the Owl tribe to abandon their belief in the beast god, there would be a group of fanatical followers who would support her without hesitation. Soon, Orvis suddenly said. 2 years of time and the baptism of war had added a kind of charm to him that was endowed by time and experience. When he looked at you with his mesmerizing dark golden eyes, even Gu Xingyin couldn't help but fall for him. This man, he was becoming more and more unwilling to hide his desire for her. Even many people in the Owl tribe had already seen through the tribe leader's thoughts towards the high priest. If it was someone else, there would definitely be many Owl tribe warriors who would not mind challenging that person. If he dared to covet the high priest, he would have to go through all the male orcs of the tribe first. However, if that person were to be brought in by Chief Orvis, the warriors of the Owl tribe expressed that this would depend on the high priestess herself. In the past 2 days of war, Orvis had been leading the charge in almost every battle. He had perfectly displayed his strong fighting ability to all the orcs. He was so strong that he was perverted. The orc tribe warriors said that even if they all attacked together, they might not be a match for the tribe leader. If the high priest needed to find a male orc as a partner, a strong male orc like the tribe leader would definitely be the first choice. If they thought about it this way, it did not seem like it was unacceptable. Thus, Orvis had already won the admiration and sincere recognition of all the Owl tribe members in battle after battle without batting an eyelid. Gu Xingyin lowered her eyes. However, Orvis suddenly came closer. The strong aura of a beast from his body surged toward Gu Xingyin and enveloped him. Gu Xingyin. There was an innate attraction between female and male orcs. This instinctive reaction. No matter how strong she was now, she could not stop it. Seeing Gu Xingyin's expression, Avis smiled gently. Lord Wu Luo, you promised me that when I become the most powerful and honorable orc in this mainland, you will be willing to become my partner. Gu Xingyin did not deny it. After so many years, as a male orc with strong instincts, Orvis's endurance was already strong enough. Seeing that Gu Xingyin did not deny it, Orvis's eyes flashed with joy. An even bolder idea appeared in his mind. He could not help but reach out and hold Gu Xingyin's hand. Chapter 730. Gu Xingyin was a little surprised. Although Orvis had never concealed his feelings for her, he had never done anything that was out of line. The most he did was to stand not too far away from her and look at her with those affectionate eyes. Why did he suddenly change his personality today? She didn't break away. If Gu Xingyin was surprised, then Orvis was ecstatic. Master Wu Luo didn't open her eyes. She allowed him to hold her hand. Gu Xingyin could feel that the orc's heart was beating very fast beside her. A wave of heat was emitted from his body, and the increasingly strong masculine scent made her transparent face blush a little. Orvis looked at the high priestess who was so close to him that he could hug her if he stretched out his hand. The blush on her face made her look more human. It was as if she had left the high and mighty altar and become a beast man with flesh and blood who knew how to love. He was conflicted in his mind. In the end, he couldn't resist the impulse in his heart. He raised his arm and hugged the slender person beside him tightly in his arms. She was really small. That was Orvis' first thought. The person in his arms was thin and weak. Orvis could wrap her tightly in his arms without any effort. Gu Xingyin couldn't get used to his sudden change in style. She struggled weakly and said calmly, "Orvis, you've crossed the line." Ovis felt the completely negligible struggle, but he did not obediently let go. Instead, he hugged the person in his arms even tighter. He felt the soft and slender body in his arms close to his chest and sighed contentedly. "Master Wu Luo, you're too thin," Gu Xingyin said. "Orvis." This time, there was a trace of sternness in her voice. Orvis heard a hint of unhappiness in her voice. He lowered his head and saw the person in his arms pursing her lips tightly. Her expression was as cold as ever and he couldn't tell what she was feeling at the moment. He sighed secretly. He knew that he couldn't be too hasty. He was already very happy to have such an unexpected surprise today. He reluctantly let go of the person in his arms and took a step back. Lord Wuluo, I can swear to the beast deity that I, Ao Wasi, am willing to remain loyal and passionately in love with you for the rest of my life. He looked at Gu Xingyin with a fiery gaze and said intoxicating words of love without holding back. I can feel that you don't reject my intimacy, so why don't you try to accept me? His dark golden eyes, which were usually proud and flamboyant, were now filled with confusion and disappointment. Even his bright golden hair seemed to have lost its luster at this moment. Even though she knew that he was just putting on an act, Gu Xingyin couldn't help but feel her heart soften when she heard his words. After all, he was her lover in every world. She said softly, Orvis, give me time. She didn't reject him. She only said that she needed time to get used to it. Orvis's previously dim eyes suddenly glowed brightly. He stared at Gu Xingyin and said hoarsely, I can wait, Master Wu Luo. When the Owl tribe unifies the Orc continent, I will personally ask you to be my partner in front of the beast deity. When that time came, this person would truly and completely belong to him. Chapter 731. The Owl clan rested for a full half a year's time this time. Some tribes that had formed an alliance with the Owl tribe were very anxious because they saw that the Li tribe had gradually cleared out the surrounding tribes in the past 6 months. The strength of the entire Li tribe was also increasing step by step. Why didn't the Owl tribe attack the Li tribe in one go when they were still young? However, the Owl tribe didn't give an explanation because it was an order from the high priest. The high priest said to let the Owl tribe rest well. After 2 years of war, the warriors in the tribe had worked hard. Although they didn't understand, in the hearts of the orcs of the Owl tribe, the high priest's order was the truth. In addition, the tribe leader also supported the high priest unconditionally. No one could offend Gu Xingyin's authority in the Owl tribe. When the allied tribes saw this, although they were very anxious, their strength was there. If the Owl tribe wasn't anxious, there was nothing they could do even if they were anxious. Hence, all the tribes watched helplessly as the Li tribe wiped out the tribes that went against them one by one and became the king of the tribes on the other side of the river. At this time, some rumors started to spread from the smaller tribes, saying that the high priest's plan had gone awry. Originally, the best time for the Owl race to attack the Li clan was when they were busy fighting. But now that the Li clan was fully fledged, it wouldn't be easy for the Owl race to bite this hard bone. The high priest of the Owl tribe, Wu Luo, had always been inviolable in the hearts of the orcs. Such rumors shook the beliefs of a large portion of the orcs. Other than the orcs of the Owl tribe who maintained an unwavering belief in the high priest, some of the conquered tribes gradually revealed their dissatisfaction with Gu Xingyin. The one who had led the warriors to defeat them was the leader of the Owl tribe, Orvis. The only person they were convinced of was the orc who was so powerful that no one could match him. To them, High Priest Wu Luo was just an unreachable legend. When Gu Xingyin heard the news, she didn't have much of a reaction. She knew that with more people, she would have more ideas. However, if it was an unintentional rumor, it would be fine. If someone wanted to use this opportunity to divide the Owl tribe, a skinny male orc was tied up by Orvis and brought in front of Gu Xingyin. Lord Wu Luo, this is the guy who secretly spread unfavorable rumors about you. Ao Weiss looked at the orc with murderous intent. Gu Xingyin glanced at him. From his appearance, he should be a beast man from the goat tribe. Can you tell me what benefits you can get by smearing my reputation? Gu Xingyin asked in a calm tone, as if there was no trace of anger in his voice. The orc from the goat tribe stared at Gu Xingyin blankly for a while. He only reacted when Orvis kicked him with a black face. Orvis had originally wanted to kill this fellow. Now that he saw that he actually dared to stare at Lord Wu Luo, he wanted to tear him into pieces even more. The orc from the goat tribe stammered, I just feel that Lord Orvis is wise and powerful. He shouldn't be suppressed by Lord High Priest. You're still quibbling. Orvis was furious. What did he mean by that? Was he trying to sow discord between him and Lord Wuluo? He looked at Gu Xingyin anxiously. Lord Wuluo wouldn't believe him, right? However, Gu Xingyin didn't show any emotions on her face. However, her words made Orvis calm down a little. Chapter 732. Speak the truth in front of the beast deity. She looked at the orc from the goat tribe indifferently. Her words were like a heavy hammer that exploded in his mind. The orc from the goat tribe looked at Gu Xingyin in horror as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. He felt that those clear and cold eyes were like the clearest mirror in the world. All of his dirty thoughts could not be hidden from those eyes. I just feel that Master Orvis is so powerful, but he has always been suppressed by Master Wuluo in terms of reputation and prestige. He must be feeling indignant. If we can provoke discord and conflict between the two of you, our small tribes can take advantage of the opportunity to share some benefits. He seemed to be unable to control his mouth, spilling out all the beans in his heart. It shouldn't be like this. He only realized what he had said after he finished speaking and looked at Gu Xingyin in horror. She was like a monster. When he met those silver-white eyes, his thoughts did not even belong to him anymore. Orvis had long been surrounded by an oppressive atmosphere. Damn it, how dare she try to sow discord between him and Master Wuluo? This was definitely something that he could not tolerate. Master Wuluo. He looked at Gu Xingyin inquiringly. Gu Xingyin nodded. Take him away. Let those people see what happens to those with bad intentions. That one sentence decided the fate of the orc from the goat tribe. Gu Xingyin had no pity in her heart. At this time, it was time for the owl tribe to establish their authority in front of all the tribes. If this matter was let go easily, not only would her reputation as the high priestess suffer a huge blow, even the authority of the entire owl tribe among all the tribes would be greatly challenged. Orvis took his men away and soon, he came back in. There was no smell of blood on his body and there was even a gentle smile on his face. However, Gu Xingyin did not think that the orc from the goat tribe would have a good ending because of this. She did not like the smell of blood. Ever since Orvis found out about this matter, he did not show any smell that she disliked in front of her. Lord Wuluo, Ao Wei seemed a little hesitant. Gu Xingyin looked at him questioningly. He said, just now, the goat beastman's words. He wanted to say that he was not dissatisfied with her at all. She should be a goddess that everyone worshipped. He was willing to believe in her for the rest of his life. Gu Xingyin interrupted him. I know, Orvis. She looked at the slightly nervous male beastman seriously, her eyes full of warmth. I know all about your feelings for me. You should also try to believe in me. Believe in my judgment, believe in me, I'm not really cold-hearted. Orvis couldn't help but smile. His bright golden eyes were filled with tenderness and love. With your words, Orvis is satisfied. He seemed to have completely let go of the burden in his heart. He took a step forward and hugged the high priestess who easily affected his thoughts. I feel that time is passing too slowly, high priestess. The Li tribe's actions are too slow, he complained, slightly dissatisfied. Gu Xingyin knew what he wanted to express. He was the only orc who knew that he had already reached an agreement with the Li tribe. He was despising the Li tribe for being too slow. If they could not complete the unification as soon as possible, he would not be able to build an empire as soon as possible. He would also not be able to become her partner as soon as possible. Chapter 733. Don't what? High Priestess. Orvis didn't call Wuluo. He felt that under such circumstances, calling her High Priestess would make him tremble with excitement. Gu Xingyin forced herself to regain some clarity of mind. She reached out her hand and pressed down on Orvis's large hand that was roaming around her body. Stop, Orvis. Her voice was still a little breathless, but her tone was firm. Orvis hugged her tightly in dissatisfaction, letting her feel his desire clearly. It's uncomfortable, so am I, he said meaningfully. Do you really have the heart to ask me to stop? There was a hint of grievance in his tone. For a man like him to talk to her in such a tone, it was simply against the rules. Gu Xingyin almost couldn't hold on any longer. Fortunately, she still maintained some consciousness and forced herself to calm down. She repeated what she said just now, "Stop, Orvis." Orvis looked at her carefully and confirmed that she was really unwilling. Although it was uncomfortable to hold it in, he still obeyed her words and pulled his hand out. However, he didn't let go of Gu Xingyin. He still hugged her tightly and said in a muffled voice, "Why? You're clearly enjoying it too." Gu Xingyin's heart warmed up when she heard that. She quickly said, "I received news from Vicar. The Li clan has basically unified the tribes on the other side of the river. She will be able to rush over today." Male beasts were simply gifted in that aspect. It was Orvis's first time. Gu Xingyin had no doubt that if she listened to him today, when the Li clan people came to the Owl clan, she, as the high priestess, could only receive them on the bed. Gu Xingyin definitely couldn't let such a thing happen. Orvis reluctantly accepted this explanation, but he still couldn't help but move. His dark golden eyes locked onto Gu Xingyin. "Without you, it won't be able to settle down." Gu Xingyin, she accepted her fate and offered to help him solve it with her hands. As for a certain system, it had already automatically entered a dormant state at this time. In the end, Orvis was chased out by Gu Xingyin with a dark face. Gu Xingyin rubbed her sore hands and secretly gritted her teeth. Fortunately, she didn't let this guy succeed. The endurance of the orcs was really too scary. If she really let him go all the way, when the Li clan people came, she probably wouldn't be lying in bed to receive them, but would receive them in a coma. The people of the Owl tribe looked at their chief. Lord Orvis seemed to be in a good mood today. According to what Gu Xingyin said, the Li clan's messenger, led by the current high priest vicar of the Li clan, arrived at the Owl clan tribe in the evening. The Owl tribe did not receive any news. Many orcs showed a very cautious look towards the Force tribe's visit. Vicar turned a blind eye to all of this. Instead, he requested to meet the Grand Priest of the Owl tribe, Sir Wu Luo. "Is our High Priestess someone you can meet just because you want to?" The Owl tribe's orc was about to speak when he heard his clan leader's deep voice. "Lord Wu Luo has ordered us to bring the Li clan's envoy to see her." Vicar's eyes lit up when he heard this voice. Based on her experience with many male beasts, a male beast with such a good voice would definitely have a good appearance. She looked towards the direction of the voice. When she saw Orvis's face clearly, her breathing stopped. Chapter 734. This man seemed to be a natural source of light. As long as he stood there, he could easily steal everyone's attention and announce his presence domineeringly. Vicar felt that she had fallen in love with him at first sight. She could roughly guess the identity of this man. He was the leader of the Owl tribe, the male beast who was called the warrior blessed by the beast god by the other tribes. She subconsciously used her charm and smiled at Orvis. High Priest Vicar from the Li tribe greets Master Orvis. I wonder if Vicar has the honor of being led by Master Orvis to meet Master Wu Luo. What surprised her was that this male beast was completely unaffected by her charm. Orvis only felt that this female beast in front of him gave him a strange feeling. There seemed to be something wrong with her. He said coldly, "Please follow me." This was the first time Vicar's charm was effective on a male beast. This made her feel curious and at the same time, a strong desire to conquer surged in her heart. Only by conquering such a powerful male beast would one be able to obtain great happiness, right? Along the way, Vicar tried her best to gain Orvis's favor. Unfortunately, even the orcs from the Owl tribe beside Orvis couldn't help but look at her infatuatedly. Orvis's expression didn't change at all. "Master Wu Luo, the high priest of the Li tribe is here," Orvis said outside the door. "Come in," Vicar heard the voice. It was different from the voice that rang in her mind every time. However, this familiar tone made her heart tremble and she put away her frivolous thoughts in front of Orvis. She entered the house. The room was very big but the furnishings inside were very simple. The huge bed with countless layers of precious animal skins took up almost 1/3 of the space in the room. Gu Xingyin sat on a chair on the other side of the room. Master Wu Luo, Vicar bowed respectfully to Gu Xingyin. The orcs she brought over today were all her trusted subordinates. Those people had long known that the high priest was here to seek refuge with the owl tribe, but seeing her so respectful to the high priest of the owl tribe, they still felt a little strange in their hearts. Everything is done. The Li clan will have no problem, Vicar said. The conversation between the two left the onlookers scratching their heads. Only they knew that the two of them had already discussed everything. Orvis was aware of the situation, and the orcs that Vicar brought over were completely dumbfounded as they watched their lord and the high priest engage in a "I don't understand" conversation. When Vicar was about to leave, he subconsciously glanced at Orvis, who was standing at the side. The other party did not look at him. Instead, he placed all his attention on the Shao clan's high priest, who was sitting on the chair. Vicar was very familiar with that look. The beast men of the Li clan also had the same look in their eyes when they looked at him. However, Lord Orvis looked at Lord Wu Luo with an even deeper gaze. The gentleness and affection in his golden eyes were enough to make anyone jealous. Vicar didn't dare to look at him. He lowered his eyes and left. It wasn't until she was out of the door that she let out a long breath. No wonder he turned a blind eye to my goodwill. No wonder my charm technique was completely ineffective on him. It turned out that there was such a female beast in his heart. Chapter 735. If it was any other female beast, Vicar was confident that she could still compete. She never felt that she was inferior to others. However, if that person was the high priest Wu Luo, Vicar felt that she could not be compared to him at all. At best, she was just a beautiful and bright flower in the world. However, the other party was the cold and dreamy moon high up in the sky. There was no comparison at all. She sighed dejectedly. She had fallen out of love before it even started. In the room. After Vicar left, Gu Xingyin glanced at Orvis indifferently. Vicar's eyes are almost glued to your body. Orvis hurriedly said, "My heart will always be with you." Gu Xingyin snorted softly. The night was still the busiest time for the owl tribe. However, today was more lively than other days. Gu Xingyin appeared on the high platform. She stretched out her hands and the cane in her hands suddenly rose into the air, emitting a dazzling light. The entire territory of the owl tribe was illuminated as if it was daytime. All the orcs of the owl tribe stopped what they were doing and looked at the figure bathed in light with admiration. This was not a technique that a normal orc could have. This person was the high priest of the owl tribe. She was the guide who led the owl tribe to this step. All the owl tribe members could not help but kneel in the direction of the high platform where Gu Xingyin was. The call of the high priest resounded through the sky. Orvis couldn't help but kneel down on one knee. However, unlike the endless worship in the hearts of the others, when he saw Wu Luo in such a state, what he wanted to do the most was to ruthlessly drag him down from his high and mighty altar and pull him into his arms. She was someone else's god, but she was only his Wu Luo. If the people of the owl tribe only had worship in their hearts, then for the people of the Li tribe who saw Gu Xingyin's ghostly techniques for the first time, they were completely shocked. Was this the power of the high priest of the owl tribe? How powerful was the shaman energy required to achieve this? Under such circumstances, Gu Xingyin spoke. Her voice seemed to come down from the 9 heavens, clearly ringing in everyone's ears. Today, I want to announce something again. Our allies, the comrades of the Li clan, have arrived at the territory of the Shao clan. Allies? Whether it was the Shao clan or the tribes that were conquered by the Shao clan, they were all shocked when they heard this. When did the Force clan become allies with the Owl clan? Gu Xingyin stretched out his hand and pointed at the shocked Vicar. Vicar was shocked to find that his body floated up uncontrollably. Beast god above. Seeing this scene, all the orcs exclaimed once again. It was simply too inconceivable. Vicar came to the high platform where Gu Xingyin was. Announce it. Gu Xingyin nodded at her. Vicar knew that he had no way out. Moreover, after seeing the techniques of the high priest Wu Luo, he realized that in his heart, he did not feel any resistance toward submitting to such a strong person. She said loudly, "I, Vicar, in the name of the high priest of the Li clan, announce that from today onwards, the Li clan will become a subsidiary tribe of the Owl tribe. There will be no disloyalty." Her voice was transmitted far away through Gu Xingyin's wizard power, causing countless orcs to be shocked. Chapter 736. The orcs of the Owl tribe were also shocked as they looked at the two high priests on the high platform. During the day, they were still vigilant because of the arrival of the messenger of the Li tribe. At night, the other party gave them such a big surprise. The submission of the Li tribe represented more than just the submission of a tribe. It should be known that they had completed the unification of the tribes across the river in the past few years, and the Owl tribe had long been the invisible king of all the tribes on this side of the river. This time, if the Li tribe submitted to the Owl tribe, didn't it mean that there was only one master left on the whole plains? Thinking of a certain possibility, all the Owl tribe members couldn't help but breathe quickly. They remembered the words that the high priest said a long time ago. She received the blessing of the beast god and would lead the orcs of the Owl tribe to become the most powerful warriors and lead the Owl tribe to become the most powerful tribe in the whole continent. Now, it really came true. Their Owl tribe would become the most powerful tribe in the whole orc continent. This night, the whole Owl tribe fell into a carnival. No one was willing to sleep when such good news came out. Vicar didn't stay in the Owl tribe for a long time. She had to rush back to the tribe to deal with the aftermath of this incident. Although there wouldn't be too much trouble, Vicar knew that there would always be some people who opposed her. Gu Xingyin didn't have the patience to face the Owl tribe when facing Vicar. What she wanted was the submission and obedience of the Li tribe. As for other troubles and obstacles, it was Vicar's business. She only wanted results. The process was the business of Vicar, the leader of the Li tribe. The Owl clan, on the other hand, began to build a majestic and gorgeous imperial city in the most fertile and beautiful place in the entire plain. This was what the high priest said. They would not only be a tribe. Now the Owl tribe had unified the whole plain. They wanted to formally propose a unified kingdom. The orcs' enthusiasm was unprecedentedly high. Not only the Owl tribe, but also some other tribes who had submitted to the Owl tribe had joined the construction team. A kingdom. This was a concept that had never appeared before. When it came from the high priest's mouth, it seemed to open the door to a new world for them. As for why they were so cooperative, Gu Xingyin said that it was all thanks to the non-existent beast deity. Every time she encountered a difficult problem, Gu Xingyin basically adopted two methods. One was force, and the other was faith. Needless to say, the current Owl clan was definitely the most powerful clan in the entire continent. And in terms of faith, who could compare to Gu Xingyin, this fraud? All the tribal leaders received the same oracle on the same night. The Owl clan's unification of the continent was the will of the gods. The orc dynasty that was about to be established would lead the orc continent into a new era. After receiving such an oracle, the orcs no longer dared to have the slightest bit of unwillingness. They were all sincerely convinced by the godly tribe of the Owl tribe. Under the concerted efforts of the dozens of tribes, a magnificent king city was finally built half a year later. At the very center of King City was the magnificent and noble palace of the entire city. The first king of the Orc continent would become its first master. For Orvis, the most exciting thing for him was not that he would be crowned here. Instead, he was going to have the high priestess in his possession here. Chapter 737. On this day, the weather was very good. On the fertile plains, the sky was clear and cloudless. Countless orcs stood on the newly built majestic king city and watched as the handsome orcs walked up the 999 steps to the highest platform in the entire king city. There, the white-robed high priest Wu Luo held a scepter in his hand and smiled as he looked at Orvis who was walking towards him. Master Wu Luo. He smiled as he looked at the female orc he admired. Gu Xingyin did not behave normally. For the first time, she bowed with the dignity of a high priestess. Your Majesty Orvis. Her bow this time was equivalent to admitting in front of all the orcs that the king's authority was higher than the high priest's. Orvis' eyes were slightly hot. He wanted to stop her and not let her bow. He could not bear to let her suffer. But he could not. He knew that she was doing this on purpose today to establish her authority. He couldn't let her down. He stood there quietly and watched as the female orc who had always been the most honorable bowed to him. After that, Gu Shengyin picked up the crown that she had personally designed. It was pure gold in color and the symbol of the owl tribe was intricately carved on it. It was gorgeous and majestic. Orvis lowered his head and allowed her to put the heavy crown on his head. Long live my king. She bowed to the young and handsome emperor once again. Following her actions, all the orcs below the platform knelt down in unison. Long live the king. Long live the king. Long live the king. Waves of congratulations rang out across the entire Great Plains. Everyone looked at their new king with excitement. A colorful rainbow suddenly appeared in the sky. To the orcs below the platform, it looked like they were surrounding the new king. Orvis, whose face could not be seen clearly, looked like a god. Beast god above. The orcs who had just stood up knelt down again. Such an unusual auspicious sign must be a blessing from the beast god to their king. If what the high priest said was true, their king would lead the newly established orcs into a new era. At this moment, their king suddenly did something that shocked all the orcs. He turned around and held the hand of the high priest who had been standing quietly by the side. Long live the queen! Long live the queen! He shouted loudly, his voice clearly reaching the ears of every orc. Queen? Will the omnipotent high priestess become the queen of their new king? All the beast men were agitated. They followed their king and shouted loudly, "Don't worry. Long live the queen!" Orvis held Gu Shingyin's hand and enjoyed the congratulations and blessings from his subjects. You said before, Wu Luo, that when I become the most honorable and powerful beast man on this continent, you will become my partner. Orvis, who had become a mature man, looked at the high priest whom he had admired since he was a teenager. Gu Shengyin took the initiative to hold his hand. She smiled as happily as he did and said, "Yes, your majesty. I will be with you and watch over this land that we have conquered together and built together." Orvis hugged her and said, "What I want is for you to be with me and enjoy this supreme glory together." He suddenly turned around and said loudly, "The queen and I will be honored together. The king and the queen will be honored together." This was the rule set by the first Orc Emperor. It would also become an iron law that would never change in the future Orc Empire that would rule this continent for thousands of years. All this had nothing to do with Gu Shengyin now. What she was doing now was just holding hands with her lover, her partner, and spending the rest of their lives together. Chapter 738. Guru, do you want to take on the script? The QQ notification on the computer kept flashing, and Gu Shengyin opened it to take a look. She paused for a moment and typed, "Tomorrow, I will go for an audition." The other side quickly replied with a super cute emoticon with a big, "Yeah," and a few exclamation marks, showing the other side's excitement. Gu Shengyin didn't reply. Instead, she sorted out the plot of this world. The female lead of this world was called Chu Qing. Her family was considered rich. She had 3 brothers, all of whom were very outstanding. After waiting for 3 sons, the Chu family finally had a daughter. Naturally, they spoiled her to the point of being obedient. Fortunately, although Chu Qing was spoiled growing up, she didn't go astray. At most, she could be considered a little arrogant. When she was 17, she came into contact with the online voice acting industry. She was immediately addicted to it. When the Chu family saw that their daughter liked it, they naturally supported her. With the top-of-the-line equipment, coupled with Chu Qing's naturally attractive voice, she quickly became popular in the online voice acting circle in a short period of time. Now, 2 years later, Chu Qing's ID, Chu Qingjiu, became one of the most famous gurus in the online voice acting industry. However, this guru was a top-notch guru with a queen voice. Speaking of this queen voice, one had to talk about Chu Qing's looks. The Chu family's looks were indisputable. Chu Qing's 3 brothers could all walk on the runway. When it came to Chu Qing, she perfectly inherited all the advantages of her parents' looks. She was definitely a top beauty. However, Chu Qing didn't like her looks. Why? It was too exquisite. Her facial features were as if they had been carefully tested and sculpted. It was fine if it was just exquisite, but the Chu family were all tall. They raised her to be a short person who was barely 1.6 meters tall. Strictly speaking, 1.6 meters wasn't considered short. However, the Chu family all had long legs. When Chu Qing was sandwiched in the middle, she looked like a doll. Yes, doll. This was the title that Chu Qing had received the most since she was a child. Those enthusiastic elders, since young, would always praise Chu Qing whenever they saw her. Little Chu Qing is getting prettier. She's even prettier than a Barbie doll. Every time this happened, Chu Qing maintained an obedient smile on the surface, but in her heart, she was laughing, "Screw your doll." That's right, this petite and delicate girl's biggest wish was to grow up to be like her mother, a beauty with fair skin and long legs. It was a pity that although she had fair skin and beautiful looks, she did not have a pair of long legs. With her delicate face, even when she was angry, she looked like she was pouting and acting cute. She did not have the slightest resemblance to a queen. At most, she was just a delicate princess with a small temper. Things that couldn't be realized in real life could only be comforted by the internet. Ever since Chu Qing found out that her voice was excellent and could imitate all kinds of deep and seductive female voices, Chu Qing never returned from the online voice acting industry. She was a guru and had many fans in the online voice acting industry. Logically speaking, she should be doing well. Unfortunately, trouble came looking for her. Chapter 739. This matter could be traced back to a web drama that Chu Qing took on half a year ago. It was a sadistic web drama about love. It was a love story about the daughter of a general, Lu Changfeng, and the crown prince, Ji Mingde. After several misunderstandings, they finally got together. That novel was said to be very popular in the web novel industry and had a large number of fans in the online voice acting circle. At that time, Chu Qing was working with another voice acting god, Chunhua Qiushi. In this web drama, Chu Qing displayed her pinnacle skills. Lu Changfeng, who was voiced by her, became one of the most classic voice acting characters judged by the fans. Due to the popularity of this web drama, Chu Qingjiu and Chunhua Qiushi became official voices in the online voice acting circle. In fact, there were many such official matches. It wasn't a big deal originally. Chu Qing admitted that she had worked with Chunhua and Qiushi a few times, and they could be considered good friends. The two even occasionally joked with each other on Weibo. Hence, something terrible happened. A very famous club in the online voice acting circle, Mountain River Scroll, took on a web drama. The Mountain River Scroll Club originally had many famous voice acting gods. But this time, it was said that they wanted to make this xianxia web drama called Peach Blossom Forest into a classic. Naturally, they prepared to send out their strongest lineup. And Chu Qingjiu, who had the strongest female voice, was naturally within their scope of consideration. In Peach Blossom Forest, the number one female war god, Huang Tian, who dared to love and hate. In the end, in order to suppress the Demon King, she willingly turned into a demon sealing chain. And in the eyes of the Mountain River Scroll Club, the most suitable voice actor for this role was undoubtedly Chu Qingjiu. This was a very attractive role, so Chu Qing didn't reject it. Then there was the male lead, the Crown Prince of Heaven, Cloudflow. Originally, Mountain River Scroll wanted their own god, Drunken Dusk, to act. But for some reason, Drunken Dusk couldn't come. In the end, Mountain River Scroll could only target someone else. Chunhua Qiushi was one of their targets. But Chunhua Qiushi also brought someone else. That person's ID was Liangzi Loves Eating Buns. It was said that she was a newcomer in the ID world. She had a coy voice that straight men loved. The moment she entered the group, she became active in all sorts of ways. She greeted everyone in the group, including the post-production artists. She didn't know if it was intentional or not, but she left out Chu Qingjiu. Chu Qing was also spoiled since she was young. How could she not have any resentment towards this kind of thing? It was only because of Chunhua and Qiushir's face that she didn't bicker with this kind of newcomer. When she heard that she was going to audition for the female lead, Celestial in the Clouds, she didn't say anything. Maybe this girl was like her and could change her voice during dubbing? However, during the audition, everyone was not surprised to hear her coquettish voice. This was the celestial being in the clouds who had no desires and no desires. Chu Qing couldn't help but say, during the audition, pay attention to whether the role suits you or not. Her words might not sound nice, but they were reasonable. Familiarizing oneself with the plot was the duty of a qualified voice actor. However, she did not expect that the person opposite her would explode immediately after she said such a sentence. That Liangzi loves eating buns, questioned Chu Qing in front of everyone. Was she jealous because she saw her together with Chunhua Qiushir? Was that why she was targeting her? At that time, Chu Qing's mood was similar to eating a fly. She couldn't hold it in and started tearing at her. Chapter 740. Initially, Chu Qing didn't take this matter to heart. She didn't mind that Chunhua and Qiushir were actually helping Liangzi loves buns on the surface. After all, they were people she met online, and she didn't put in much effort. But after she went offline that day, she didn't log into her QQ and Weibo account for several days because of the school exams. When she was done with her work in real life, she realized that the circle had exploded. It turned out that after she went offline a few days ago, Liangzi loves steamed bun had exposed the whole thing in an accusatory tone. It involved two almighties, and it might even be a threesome. The gossipy hearts of the onlookers stirred, and they couldn't help but click on it out of curiosity. Itsu Qingzhou's image was that of a vicious woman who was using her power to avenge a personal grudge out of jealousy. But for the past 2 years, Chu Qingzhou's reputation in the circle wasn't bad. She didn't join any clubs, didn't do live streams, and didn't post photos. Other than taking on dramas, she kept a low profile. Her cold personality unexpectedly won the favor of many people. Many fans expressed their disbelief that Great Lord Qingzhou was such a person. They all tagged Chu Qingzhou under Liangzi Loves Bun's Weibo account. But after several days, Liangzi Loves Buns kept complaining, while Chu Qing didn't do anything. Many passers-by started to believe Liangzi Loves Bun's words. If she didn't have a guilty conscience, why didn't she come out to explain after so long? In the end, what made the fans change sides was Chunhua and Qiushir's comments. They didn't directly state which side they were on, but they posted on their Weibo account, Qingzhou sometimes speaks without thinking and hurts others. This indirectly proved Liangzi Loves Bun's words. There were quite a number of people who knew the truth. Some of them stood up for Chu Qingzhou to refute the rumors, but others said they were purposely trying to defend Chu Qingzhou. Some even mocked them, saying that Chu Qingzhou was the one who saw the bad situation and that it was easy for her to hide. Yet, these fools were still speaking up for her. In any case, when Chu Qingzhou went online and saw the one-sided comments, she was furious. Since young, she could get whatever she wanted. When had she ever been schemed against like this? Unlike Liangzi Loves to eat buns, her approach was much simpler and more violent. She directly borrowed a hacker from her elder brother's company and easily hacked into Chunhua and Qiushir's computers. She exposed their private chat records, as well as the records of Liangzi Likes to Eat Buns hiring Internet Water Army to slander her, and so on. Even after doing all this, the girl was still not satisfied. She left a long emotional comment under the voice actor's Weibo account, stating that the industry was cold and warm, that the fans couldn't tell right from wrong, and that she was bitterly disappointed. In the end, she announced that she was leaving the industry, and that the Weibo account and the ID, Chu Qingzhou, would no longer be used. She left the online voice acting industry. Based on this alone, she probably didn't lose anything, nor did she lose. But how could she just give up on the industry that she had wholeheartedly devoted 2 years to? After a period of decadence, Chu Qing, who planned to go on a trip to relax, climbed the famous dangerous peak. She was deep in thought and her hands slipped. Unfortunately, the safety equipment on her body malfunctioned and she fell from the 1,000-meter high cliff. Chapter 741. Gu Xingyin came to Chu Qing, not because she had died, but because the main plot of this world was the online voice acting industry. Since it was the main plot of the online voice acting industry, her withdrawal from the industry was equivalent to her losing her role as the main character. Originally, she had a high chance of winning the most famous King of the Voice Acting of the Year award in this industry. However, after she announced her retirement from the industry, there was no one to fill the role of the female lead. That was why Gu Xingyin came to this world. She needed to take Chu Qing's place in the online voice acting industry and win the title of King of the Voice Acting, becoming one of the queens of the online voice acting industry. Gu Xingyin took a closer look at the QQ message she had just received and realized that the audition she agreed to was for Huang Tian in Peach Blossom Forest. That meant that Liang Zi loves to eat buns would appear in her world tomorrow. Just then, her QQ rang again. Gu Xingyin opened the chat window and saw the words, Chunhua Qiushi, appear on the chat window. Qingjiu, are you going to audition for Peach Blossom Forest tomorrow? Gu Xingyin ignored him. The other party probably thought that she wasn't around for the time being, so he sent another message. Tomorrow, I'll be bringing a newbie for the audition. She's going to audition for the main character, Celestial Cloud. There's no conflict with you. Take care of her then. Gu Xingyin deleted the chat window. What a joke. What did Chunhua Qiushi mean by that? What did he mean by there was no conflict with her audition role, so she didn't have to worry? If she was going to audition for the same role as her, would she mess with her in private? She removed her earphones angrily, preparing to go out and have a good meal to comfort herself. Chu Qing was in her second year of university, and the university she attended was a famous one in the country. The school was famous for being rich. Not to mention other things, just the school dormitory alone was enough to attract the envy and jealousy of many students who attended the same university. As the daughter of a rich family, Chu Qing naturally lived in the best two-person apartment in the school. The apartment was a large two-bedroom apartment, and the two rooms provided enough private space. She walked out of the room and saw her roommate, Su Jin, hugging her laptop and watching a movie on the sofa. She seemed to like the sofa here very much. Every time Gu Xingyin saw her free time, she would have a lot of snacks by her side, lying on the sofa and eating while playing games or watching movies. Do you need me to bring you something? Gu Xingyin asked out of habit. Momo finally raised her head. She was a girl with a gentle appearance, but Gu Xingyin knew that her nature was the complete opposite of her appearance. Ah. I love you, I want the braised chicken and the caramel macchiato from the dessert shop opposite the school. Shentong Express has 2 parcels, thank you. She finished speaking in one breath and buried herself back into the sofa. Gu Xingyin resigned to her fate and went downstairs. One of the benefits of being near the school was that there was a lot of good food to eat. The market was big, and so was the competition. Basically, those with bad taste would not be able to survive in such a place. According to Chu Qing's memory, Gu Xingyin chose a restaurant. It was not the peak meal time, so the food she ordered was quickly served. When Gu Xingyin was about to eat, she thought for a moment, took a picture with her phone, and uploaded it to Chu Qingjiu Weibo. Eating dinner in advance, behind her, a boy's phone vibrated. He took out his phone, and when he saw the content, he paused. He then looked around the restaurant, and his gaze locked onto Gu Xingyin, who was fiddling with her phone. He was surprised for a moment, and then a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 742. If it was in the past, Chu Qing would never do such a thing. She would never interact with her fans on the microphone or Weibo. In private, it was rumored that Qingjiu was as aloof as her voice. Gu Xingyin decided to change her strategy. As someone in the industry, the support of her fans was essential. For a person who had never shared his life, the effect was quite amazing. Her post was reposted many times in a short period of time. Many fans were so touched that they left comments below, saying that they didn't expect to see Qingjiu post a non-online Weibo post in their lifetime. What really made the fan circle explode was that not long after Qingjiu posted her Weibo post, someone tagged her. Drunken Dusk. Heavens, since when did Qingjiu and Huang Han have such a good relationship? Qingjiu drunken dusk, I seem to smell adultery. Qingjiu drunken dusk, I wouldn't have known if I didn't look. But after taking a closer look, their IDs are clearly of the same style. Upstairs, that's the truth. Such a huge CP, how could I have been so blind that I couldn't tell? Same goes for blind, the strongest attack voice and the strongest female attack voice. This couple is so compatible. Gu Xingyin was called out by a series of mentions. She had started eating after posting her Weibo post, but she didn't expect her phone to vibrate non-stop. The moment she opened it, she got a fright. Drunken dusk, Qingjiu, looks like it tastes good, smile, smile. Gu Xingyin's hand that was swiping on the screen paused. Drunken dusk? He was one of the top voice actors in Shanha volume. Among the male voice actors, his popularity could be considered top-notch. Drunk Dusk was very popular in various circles. Not only did he take on romance dramas, he would even take on doujinshi dramas and slash dramas. Because of his gorgeous and deep voice, it was enough to make one's ears pregnant, and he was praised by his fans as the strongest voice. This god style was similar to Chu Qing's. He never exposed his photos or his real life. It was just that he would occasionally interact with his fans through voice chat and had a large number of die-hard fans. Was he close to her? Gu Xingyin furrowed her brows as she flipped through her memories. She did not have any recollection of Chu Qing having any contact with Drunk Dusk. She thought about it for a moment and felt that Drunk Dusk might have just happened to see her Weibo post and commented on it in passing. Itsu Qingjiu, Drunken Dusk, the taste is indeed not bad. Then, her phone rang again. Drunken Dusk replied almost immediately. Drunken Dusk, eating happily, smile, Itsu Qingjiu. The fans below were in an uproar again. Lad, you're not bad, is Lord Qingjiu trying to act cute with that tone? Itsu Qingjiu, a little yellow chick, I can hear a strong sense of indulgence from Master Dusk's tone. Tell me it's not an illusion. Drunken Dusk, upstairs is very handsome. It's not your illusion. Sake. Drunken Dusk, a little yellow chick, thank you. You're very handsome too. Dreaming of Tang Dynasty, what did I see? Dusk, when did you hook up with Qingjiu? Drunken Dusk. I want to eat meat, I caught a dream. Dada alive. Speaking of which, Dada doesn't know the inside story. Dream. Dada Tang. Dreaming of Tang Dynasty, eh? I don't know. Dusk is usually very tight-lipped. In the end, this matter had completely gone off topic. No one cared about Gu Xingyin's bowl of delicious food. Instead, they were all guessing the relationship between Itsu Qingjiu and Drunk Dusk. Chapter 743. A certain man looked at Gu Xingyin, who had a conflicted look on her face, and revealed a smile. It was really, very surprising. Who would have thought that Itsu Qingjiu, who was known as the strongest queen's voice, was actually such a petite and adorable girl in real life? Actually, Gu Xingyin only felt conflicted for a moment before she felt relieved. Although the process was a little unexpected, at least the outcome was right. The name Itsu Qingjiu made her presence known in the circle, didn't she? Moreover, it wasn't a bad thing to create a new couple. Otherwise, Chunhua and Qiushi would really think they were some big shot. After Gu Xingyin finished her meal, she shouted, "Waiter, bill." Her voice was crisp and sweet, without the domineering female voice in the addition. The man glanced at her thoughtfully and lowered his head before Gu Xingyin turned around to look at him. After Gu Xingyin left, his phone suddenly rang. Dream of Tang Dynasty, Huang Han, tell me the truth. What's your relationship with Itsu Qingjiu? The man, drunken Huang Han, softly sent a line of words, nothing at all. Dream of Tang Dynasty, nothing at all? Nothing at all? The two of you chatted so well on Weibo? Drunken Huang Han couldn't help but laugh. Chatted so well? He seemed to have only sent 2 sentences from start to end, right? Itsu Qingjiu even replied to him with 1 sentence. What were these people imagining in their heads? Dream of Tang Dynasty sent another message, Huang Han, if you're really close to Great Qingjiu, consider pulling her into our club. It's rare to see a wild god like her nowadays. Drunken Huang Huan's fingers paused for a moment. He originally wanted to say that he wasn't close to her, but thinking of her conflicted look, she didn't seem to be as cold as the outside world thought. I'll try, he replied. Huang Hun, what haven't you succeeded in? I'll wait for your good news. Drunken Huang Hun gently closed his phone, paid the bill, and walked out. Gu Xingyin bought dinner for her roommate, Hua Hua, and also carried bags of things back. Senior Chu Qing. Someone called out to her from afar. Gu Xingyin turned around and saw a tall, sunny-looking boy running over. Gu Xingyin knew this guy. He was a freshman in the computer science department and could be considered a top student in the department. Since the first time he saw Chu Qing, it was said that it was love at first sight. After all his confessions were rejected, he still did not give up and tried different ways to appear by her side. Senior sister, there are so many things. Do you want me to help you carry them? He was ready to take the bags from Gu Xingyin's hands. Gu Xingyin subconsciously took a step back. She raised her head and looked at him. No need, Junior. I'll be at the dormitory building soon. She was right. They were about to arrive at this place. The junior's face darkened. He smiled and said, Senior, are you free tomorrow? I bought 2 movie tickets. Gu Xingyin said blandly, I don't like to watch movies. Junior, save them for girls who like to watch movies. After saying that, she turned around and left without any reluctance, leaving the boy staring at her back view in a daze. If she really didn't like this kind of thing, then she shouldn't give him any hint that he still had a chance. Chapter 744. As soon as Gu Xingyin entered the room with bags of things, she heard her roommate's annoyed cry, damn it, this was such a good opportunity, but we were wiped out. She calmly closed the door and put the things on the sofa beside her. The smell of the braised chicken instantly summoned a certain gaming addict from her fantasy world. Feng Chen looked at Gu Xingyin with a touched face, Qingqing, if I were a man, I would marry you. Why are you so virtuous? Gu Xingyin laughed, I don't want to serve you every day. Feng Chen's face fell and she looked sad, you actually dislike me, however, she quickly recovered and looked at Gu Xingyin's face. She said with a smile, if I were a man and had a doll-like girlfriend like you, I would definitely dote on you. How would I be willing to let you do manual labor? No matter how she looked at it, her roommate was a delicate little princess who should be carefully taken care of. Chu Qing hated it when others talked about her appearance. It always reminded her of her long legs and the aura of a queen. Her face turned cold, Feng Chen, if you talk about this again, I'm going to get angry. Feng Chen knew some of her habits and quickly raised her hands, Your Majesty, I was wrong. You are the most aggressive. You are the most domineering sister with the strongest aura. Gu Xingyin rolled her eyes and said, I'm going to wash up and sleep. Remember to answer my class tomorrow morning. In the morning, she had an appointment with Mountain River Scroll for an audition. It happened to be an extremely boring elective class. Gu Xingyin was prepared to skip class without any psychological burden. Feng Chen looked enviously at her roommate who could skip class without any scruples. Her parents were professors in this school and they knew most of the teachers in the university. She was definitely the focus of attention. If she dared to skip class, the consequences would be too great. She didn't dare to think about it. The next day, when Gu Xingyin woke up, it was already 9 o'clock in the morning. The audition time with Mountain River Volumes was 10 o'clock in the morning. She slowly got out of bed and made herself a cup of honey tea. After washing up, she finally turned on the computer and entered a private room. There were already quite a number of people inside. Welcome, Qingjiu, a cheerful and crisp voice rang out. Gu Xingyin didn't even need to look at the name to know who this voice belonged to. Dream of Tang Dynasty, focused youth for 100 years. Of course, he was also famous in the romance circle for being a good listener. Thank you. Gu Xingyin typed a line of words. Chu Jiu's habit was to not turn on the microphone unless it was during an audition or recording. Everyone knew about this habit of hers, so they didn't think much of it. Gu Xingyin habitually glanced at the screen and unexpectedly found a familiar name. Drunken Dusk? She remembered that Drunken Dusk wasn't supposed to come for the audition. Could it be that something happened that caused him to deviate from his original plan? But this was a good thing for Gu Xingyin. Drunken Dusk was the great god of Mountain River volumes. With him around, Prince Lu Yun's character, Mountain River volumes, definitely wouldn't fall into the hands of an outsider. Chunhua and Xiushi, this time he didn't have to do anything. But not long after, Chunhua and Xiushi's IDs appeared in the room. Chunhua and Xiushi, hello, everyone. Liang Zi loves buns, hello, everyone. A few people in Mountain River volumes replied to the two of them. Gu Xingyin remained silent. Just then, her private chat box started to flash. Chunhua and Xiushi, Qingzhou, why didn't you reply to my QQ message yesterday? Did you not see it? I brought a newbie here today to audition. Take care of her later. Chapter 745. His tone was completely matter-of-fact. Gu Xingyin was so angry that she wanted to laugh. What was her relationship with Chunhua and Xiushi? They were merely acquaintances whom she got along well with. Where did he get such confidence from? Was she that important? She pressed both hands on the keyboard and started typing. I'm only here for the audition. The candidates will be decided by the Mountain River scroll. She felt that she was being rather tactful with her words. But Chunhua and Xiushi were still unhappy. Qingzhou, why did you become like this? Liang Zi's character doesn't conflict with yours, so it won't affect your interests. She just wants you to put in a few good words for her. Gu Xingyin right-clicked and saw an option to block her. Without hesitation, she chose to block her. Since they knew each other online, so be it if she wanted to be willful. In this public room, Liang Zi started to repeat the scene from the original plot. Liang Zi, cute, cute, hello Huang Han, I especially like your voice Liang Zi, cute, cute, hello Dream Huang Han. Liang Zi, cute, cute, hello Dance Huang Han, I'm your fan. She followed the order of their IDs in the room and greeted them one by one on the public screen, expressing her liking for them. But she left out Qingzhou, who was in the middle. Only Liang Zi loves eating buns comments were left on the screen. Everyone was probably feeling awkward. Gu Xingyin looked at Liang Zi loves eating bun as though she was a clown. Chunhua and Xiushi, who claimed to be her good friends, were now invisible. But at this moment, a message suddenly appeared on the public screen that Liang Zi loves eating bun was spamming. Drunken Dusk, eh? Qingzhou is here? I like your voice a lot. Gu Xingyin paused. Was he trying to help her out? The moment Drunken Dusk spoke, everyone in the room seemed to have realized what was going on and started teasing to liven up the atmosphere. Dream Huang Han, Dusk, you said there's nothing fishy going on between you and Qingzhou. The moment you came out, you only saw Qingzhou. Oh right, I should confess to you every day. Almighty Qingzhou, I like you too. Post-production Echo, Boss Qingzhou, I'm your fan. Your Lu Changfeng is too domineering. I nearly turned gay because of you. Artist Cha-Cha, Boss Qingzhou. The atmosphere created by Liang Zi loves to eat buns was completely destroyed. Everyone began to circle around the sake, as if no one had seen the embarrassing scene. Below the screen, in a small rented apartment, a girl with heavy makeup on her face gritted her teeth. She didn't look old, but the heavy makeup on her face made her look much older than her actual age. So what if you're a guru? Don't Chunhua and Xiushi like someone like me? She stared at the name, Chu Qingzhou, on the screen, feeling resentful. Actually, she wasn't familiar with Itsu Qingzhou. It was just that when she first entered the online voice acting industry, she hooked up with the gurus Chunhua and Xiushi. But this Chunhua and Xiushi had an official couple. That Itsu Qingzhou was said to be a guru in this industry. She happened to hear from Chunhua and Xiushi that Itsu Qingzhou was going to participate in the audition for this drama. Hence, she specially pestered him to bring her along. She wanted to ruthlessly embarrass Itsu Qingzhou. Chapter 746. Unfortunately, Drunken Dusk had interfered. What she had just done was a joke. Gu Xingyin found Drunken Dusk and sent him a smiley face. "Thank you." The reply came quickly. "You're welcome. I've always liked your voice." Almost everyone had arrived, and the auditions began. The auditions were mainly for the important roles. The auditions for the supporting roles were recorded by the voice actors and sent to the club for selection. Originally, as a nobody, Liang Zi Loves Buns was not qualified to enter the audition room. However, Chunhua and Xiushi had brought her in, and Mountain River Scroll did not want to disappoint them. According to the role, the male lead, Prince Flowing Cloud, had already been decided. Drunken Dusk had only said a few lines symbolically and did not express any problems. It was the female lead, Celestial Cloud's turn. Celestial Cloud's character was a cold and arrogant immortal. This voice was not easy to express, and Mountain River Scroll had even invited several experts to audition. After the auditions, Mountain River Scroll's president, Mountain River Scroll, was a little dissatisfied. There was no doubt that these experts' performances were above average. Whether it was their emotions or their tone, they were all excellent. If it was an ordinary web drama, almost any one of them would be fine. However, Mountain River Scroll wanted to make Peach Blossom Forest into a classic web drama. As one of the key characters in the series, the voice actors responsible for Celestial Cloud's voice were especially important. He felt that their performance was still lacking something. It was Liang Zi Loves Bun's turn. Gu Xingyin put down the honey tea in her hand and quietly listened to her performance. As soon as she opened her mouth, Gu Xingyin felt lucky and put down the tea in her hand. This was the cold and emotionless Celestial Cloud? Wasn't this a little girl who asked her brother for candy? After Liang Zi Loves Buns finished, the room fell into an awkward silence. Gu Xingyin did not know where this person got the confidence to audition for this role. She sat quietly and did not speak. This time, she did not want to be the bad guy. She had prepared an even bigger gift for her. Director Zhuang Chuang said, "I think Liang Zi Loves Buns is not suitable for this role." Her words were not tactful, but they were not excessive either. Unfortunately, Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns was a person who felt very good about herself. She turned on her microphone and asked, "Why? What did I do wrong? My Mandarin is not standard? Or is there something wrong with my feelings?" Gu Xingyin felt that at this moment, her heart should be very stifled. As a matter of fact, not only was his heart stifled, he even felt as if 10,000 divine beasts were roaring in his heart. What was wrong with it? "Sister, have you read this novel before? If you've really read it, do you have the nerve to ask such a question? Who was Celestial being in the clouds? If you really want me to say it, you don't have any position at all." At this moment, Chunhua and Xiushi also spoke up. "Zhangcha, Liang Zi is a newbie in this circle. She doesn't know anything. You should talk to her. I think she's quite talented." Zhu Cha almost cursed out loud. That newcomer didn't know anything. "You, Chunhua Xiushi, have been in the circle for so long and you still don't know? How do you want me to explain this situation to you?" Chunhua and Xiushi's behavior of pretending to be ignorant and playing the good guy for others was really disgusting. Chapter 747. Since Master Chunhua and Master Xiushi are so enthusiastic, why don't you explain it to Miss Liang Zi? Chu Wuyo asked. As for Miss Liang Zi, I only have one suggestion. Please read the novel, The Peach Blossom Forest, from beginning to end. Gu Xingyin laughed off the screen. Master Xiushi used to be a voice actor as well, but she later switched to a behind-the-scenes role. However, her reputation for being outspoken was still circulating in the circle. Chunhua and Xiushi were somewhat embarrassed. They said in a low voice, "Everyone here today is a veteran in the voice acting circle. What's the point of bullying a newcomer like Liang Zi?" Everyone was scolded by this sentence. Bullying a newcomer? They were not going to take the blame. Dream of Tang turned on the mic and mocked, "Master Chunhua and Master Xiushi, I don't understand. When did we say anything about bullying a newcomer? What's wrong with Master Qiushi's words? You don't even know what kind of character Celestial in the Clouds is, yet you rashly came to audition. If you're not suitable, then you're not suitable. Chunhua and Xiushi were somewhat speechless. Mountain River Scrolls, Peach Blossom Forest, this time was very famous, and the promotion was very good. After Liang Zi saw it, she kept pestering him to come and try it out. He had told Liang Zi to prepare beforehand. But looking at her now, Liang Zi clearly did not take his words to heart. But at this time, as a man, he could not admit defeat. Moreover, Liang Zi had been privately chatting with him, asking him to speak up for her. As I said, Liang Zi is a newcomer. If Master Qiushi thinks she's not suitable, you can talk it out. There's no problem in giving her some pointers, right? Gu Xingyin calmly typed a line of words. So, I'm a newcomer. I'm the weakest. You have to tolerate and love me. Even if I'm wrong, it's normal. You're wrong to criticize me, right? Pfft. Dream of Tang did not turn off the mic. Laughter rang out in everyone's ears. Then it was quiet again. Perhaps Dream of Tang had discovered this and turned off the mic. Drunk Dusk looked at Gu Xingyin's words and couldn't help but laugh. It was really her sharp style. Gu Xingyin knew that in this situation, it was best for her to remain silent. But looking at these two shameless people, she couldn't help it. Moreover, there were so many people watching this time. She had even prepared a recording and screenshot beforehand. She wasn't afraid that they would distort the truth. Seeing Gu Xingyin speak, Liangzi Love's steamed bun seemed to have found a target to vent her anger on. Qingzhou, why are you speaking in such a strange tone? I know. Are you jealous that Chunhua and Xiushi personally brought me here? You just don't want me to play this role properly. Are you happy now? Why do you have such a dark mind? Gu Xingyin was speechless. What are you thinking, miss? Overthinking is overthinking, Qingzhou. She thought for a moment and typed a line of words. Who are you? In other words, who do you think you are? Is it worth my time to deal with you? Liang Zi Love's steamed bun trembled with anger when she saw the words. What does this song of sake mean? Is she looking down on me? The other people watching couldn't help but laugh out loud. The Mountain River Scroll Club had its own group. Dream of Tang couldn't help but take a screenshot and send it to the group. He sighed. This is the first time I've seen Master Qingzhou's ability to anger people to death. Chapter 748. Through these few words, Drunken Dusk seemed to be able to see an expressionless girl typing infuriatingly in front of the computer. But when he thought of that face he saw in the restaurant yesterday, he couldn't bring himself to believe it. With that face, even if it was expressionless, it looked more like she was pouting and trying to act cute, right? At that moment, a new round started in the room. Chunhua and Xiushi said, Qingzhou, you're a veteran in the industry. Although you're experienced, you shouldn't bully newbies. Gu Xingyin felt that this person was sick. And that Liangzi Ban, there was really something wrong with his brain. She couldn't communicate with them at all. No matter what, they could always twist her into a pure and unpretentious little white lotus flower. Qingzhou said, imagining things is an illness. It has to be treated. If you have persecutory delusions, please don't walk around. The whole world will be your enemy. Sensing that Gu Xingyin couldn't take it anymore, Cup of Tea couldn't take it anymore either. He directly moved the two of them out of the room. After the two of them left, Dream of Tang sent Gu Xingyin a thumbs up emoji. Everyone felt that the atmosphere had become much more relaxed. Cup of Tea continued, everyone, don't let what happened just now affect your mood. Let's continue with the audition. There were only 2 voice actors left who came to audition for the female lead, Immortal in the Clouds. After the audition, Mountains and Rivers in the Sleeves and Cup of Tea both frowned. It still didn't work. They felt like something was missing. Their expectations were too high this time. All the voices were perfect, and they didn't want to leave behind any regrets. After a while, Cup of Tea said, let's try the supporting roles first. A magnetic and alluring voice rang out in the room. Can I try, Immortal in the Clouds? This voice lacked the sweetness of an ordinary woman, but it had a hint of femininity and gentleness. When one heard it, one couldn't help but shudder. It was too torturous. As if there was a small hook gently scratching your eardrum, you couldn't help but want to continue listening. What an aggressive female voice. Once this voice came out, everyone in the room knew who it was. Other than Aiken Qingjiu, who was known as the top female voice, who else could have such a voice that could seduce girls in minutes? Zhu Cha, however, was a little hesitant. There was nothing to say about the tone of the song. It was very unique and very recognizable. However, this style was completely different from Celestial Amidst the Clouds. Zhan Cha didn't believe that Wuxia Qingjiu, who had been in the industry for so many years, didn't know about this. Then, did she have some special skills? Gu Xingyi knew what she was worried about. She cleared her throat and said, "Can I try the Immortal in the Clouds in a cup of tea?" This time, the sound that rang in everyone's ears was as cold as jade colliding with each other, but it was also as cold as the clear spring water on a snowy mountain. It was as if there was not a trace of smoke or fire in it. Zhu Cha immediately looked towards the person who spoke in the room. Qingjiu's ID was slowly flashing. The person who spoke just now was Qingjiu. A song of sake could actually change the style. After the shock, ecstasy surged in Zhu Cha's heart. What was clear and cold, lonely and proud? It was too similar. That voice just now was the perfect representation of Immortal in the Clouds. Chapter 749. After a while, everyone in the room became silent for a moment. Then, Dream of Tang's crisp voice sounded in everyone's ears. Oh my God, was that Master Qingjiu? This voice, I feel like kneeling down. Gu Xingyin typed a line of words. I just want to try out a new voice. With Chu Qing's body, other than her fair skin and exquisite looks, the thing that made people envious the most was her good voice. But her original voice was that of a sweet and crisp little girl's, and she had never liked it. She wanted to enter the online voice acting industry because she discovered that she had the skill to change her voice. After countless attempts, she finally chose a domineering female voice as her spokesperson in the online voice acting industry. This girl had always believed that her appearance was because she had failed to live up to expectations when she was in her mother's womb and did not absorb more nutrients. However, her nature was still that of a domineering queen with 1.2 long legs. Hence, she had never revealed this powerful talent in front of others. However, when it came to Gu Xingyin, her thoughts were completely different. Putting aside the fact that she didn't feel anything wrong with Chu Qing's body, if she wanted to advance in the online voice acting industry, it would be a waste if she didn't make use of such a good voice. Peach Blossom Forest was an excellent opportunity. With such a popular sadomasochistic novel, and the team behind Mountain River Volume being one of the top teams in the industry, Gu Xingyin felt that she could make good use of this opportunity. If Huang Tian alone wasn't enough, what if there was another Celestial in the Clouds? Gu Xingyin randomly selected a dialogue from Celestial Amidst the Clouds for Gu Xingyin to try. This kind of dialogue wasn't difficult for her at all. Mountain River Volume and Mountain River Volume were so excited that they couldn't speak. They were incomparably glad that they didn't lower their expectations because it was difficult to find a candidate. Otherwise, how could they find such a perfect Celestial in the Clouds? Just like that, it was decided that Song Qingjiu would be in charge of Celestial in the Clouds. At the same time, Gu Xingyin's QQ account for the online voice acting industry started flashing. A friend request popped up. Drunk Dusk has sent you a friend request. Do you accept? Gu Xingyin clicked accept. A dialog box popped up. Drunken Dusk, say hello, I hope we have a pleasant cooperation. Ichinoku Qingjiu, happy working with you. The audition was not over yet. Gu Xingyin's computer was still connected. Then, a private message came in the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Qingjiu, are you there? If you're paired with Celestial in the Clouds, then what about the original Huang Tian character? Of course. Aiken Qingjiu, I can take on 2 roles, no problem. Tea time, alright, thanks for your hard work. The next moment, Gu Xingyin's QQ flashed again. Drunken Dusk, I'll add you to the Peach Blossom Forest group. Soon, a message popped up. Drunken Dusk has invited you to join the Peach Blossom Forest official matchmaking group. Do you accept the application? Gu Xingyin agreed. Drunken Dusk, Prince Lu Yun, welcome Dream of the Tang Dynasty, welcome Post-Production, Hui Yin, welcome, Lord Qingjiu. Artist, Cha Cha, welcome, Guru. Icon Qingjiu, Celestial in the Clouds, thank you, everyone. Tea Time, Director, Qingjiu has already changed the name card? Icon Qingjiu, Celestial in the Clouds, I saw everyone's format. Tea Time, Director, Tang, quickly go and change the name card. Dreaming of the great Tang Ling Yinzi, I got it. Don't call me Tang. Gu Xingyin looked at this group of gurus who were unapproachable in front of outsiders. They seemed different from what she had imagined. Chapter 750. Cha Cha, Qingjiu and Dusk, the two main actors, go find a room to rehearse your lines and get a feel for it. We will start recording in about a week. Gu Xingyin was dragged to a private room by Drunken Dusk. Drunken Dusk, I chose a part. Take a look and we'll rehearse this part. Is that okay? Gu Xingyin received the file she sent. It was the part where Celestial and the Clouds jumped into the reincarnation pool to leave Crown Prince Lu Yun. This part of the dubbing required a lot of emotional tension between the male and female leads. It could be said that it was the most intense part of the story. What do you want me to do? When can you really focus on me? Your Highness, the people in the three realms are what you should see and pay attention to. The woman with black hair looked at the sea of clouds in front of her and said faintly. I don't want the people in the three realms. I only want you, Celestial in the Clouds. The handsome man's eyes were full of hostility. Celestial in the Clouds will only hide in the sea of clouds. The honor of being the mother of all celestial beings doesn't suit me. If I can't get Celestial in the Clouds, what's the use of the sea of clouds in the three realms? Finally, after rehearsing this part, Gu Xingyin broke away from the mysterious atmosphere. She let out a long sigh of relief. She realized that dubbing was indeed a very exhausting thing. A dialogue box flashed on the screen. Drunken Dusk, how do you feel? Gu Xingyin replied, I'm fine. Drunken Dusk, I recorded the dubbing just now. I want to send it to Cha Cha. What do you think? Qingjiu, I'm fine with it. Gu Xingyin remembered that she had a physical education class in the afternoon. After saying a few words to Drunken Dusk, she left. Looking at the time, it was 1:30. She could change her clothes and get ready to go out. Pushing open the door, Gu Xingyin saw a certain someone sitting on the sofa watching a movie on the computer. Cha Cha, get ready to go to class. Cha Cha heard this and wailed, I really don't want to go. Physical education was like a curse to weak girls like them. Especially when they were selecting classes back then, one of them was gaming all night, while the other was doing voice acting. Neither of them managed to grab an easy class. When they finally logged in, they were only left with directional cross-country. That teacher was famous for being a pervert. Other people's PE classes were just relaxing and playing ball games for fun. But they had to run every time. Furthermore, it was at least 1,200 meters. Was this something a normal student could endure? The worst thing was that the teacher also knew that he was not very popular. If he was not strict, the truancy rate would be quite low. Therefore, attendance was required for every class. Whoever was absent would have to retake the class next semester. If he didn't want to attend other classes, there was another way, which was to find someone to substitute for him. However, as soon as the substitute students heard that it was Teacher XX's orienteering class, they refused in horror. They just wanted to earn some pocket money. There was no need to torture themselves for it. Gu Xingyin heartlessly took away her laptop and warned, don't get any ideas. Think about the consequences of skipping class. Think about your parents. Cha Cha shivered and quickly got up from the sofa. I'll go pack up. Wait for me for 10 minutes. Fortunately, Cha-Cha was a big-hearted girl. She was still wailing just now, but when she was on the road, she started to become infatuated. Although Teacher Liang is a little strict. But in terms of looks, no one in our school can beat him. Chapter 751. Momo was right. Most of the male teachers in the school had big bellies. As an unmarried 20-year-old with an 8-pack, orienteering Teacher Liang was indeed very popular among the students, especially the girls. If it weren't for his perverted curriculum, orienteering would definitely be one of the most popular courses. However, there were no ifs. As a result, no matter how attractive the handsome guy was, the students were still unwilling to look for abuse. When Momo and Gu Xingyin arrived at the gathering place, there were still 5 minutes before class started. Most of the students in the class had arrived. This class had the highest attendance rate in the school. Momo raised her wrist and looked at her watch. Strange, it's already so late. Why isn't Teacher Liang here yet? She suddenly showed a surprised expression. Could it be that he has a class at the last minute and doesn't want to go to class? Gu Xingyin was about to say something when there was a sudden commotion among the girls not far away. What's the matter? What's the fuss? Momo said and looked over. Then, ching ching, look, it's a handsome guy. Momo suddenly lowered her voice and exclaimed. Gu Xingyin followed her gaze and looked over. A figure walked over in the sunlight. It was late autumn. He was wearing a long light gray coat, and his slender figure could be seen at a glance. As for the face that caused the girls to scream, Gu Xingyin thought for a moment. To use the most popular youth literature adjectives, it was, the sunlight is not as dazzling as him. The wind is still at this moment, and everything is reduced to the background behind him. If Gu Xingyin were to describe it, it would be, a very handsome man. Momo grabbed her hand tightly, and her eyes were practically shining. So handsome, Gu Xingyin used a lot of effort to pry her hand away. If she continued to grab it, her hand would probably be bruised tomorrow. When he walked to the gathering place, the bell rang. Hello, students. My name is Gu Yunka. Your teacher Liang has some personal matters, so he asked me to take over his class for a while. His eyes and brows were so clean that he looked like someone who had just walked out of a painting. When he spoke, his voice was so suave that it was hard to breathe. Gu Xingyin heard the girl behind her gasp. Oh my God, my ears are going to get pregnant. Gu Xingyin frowned. She felt that the voice was familiar, but in her memory, she didn't have any impression of this man named Gu Yunka. Could it be that because it was him, she felt a sense of familiarity? Gu Xingyin let go of her doubts. The students in the class began to talk to each other. Some of the bolder ones asked the new teacher, Hello, Teacher Gu. What does Teacher Gu do? Is Teacher Liang all right? When will he be back? Gu Yunka kept smiling and replied, Teacher Liang is going abroad on a business trip on behalf of the school for a period of time. It will take about a month. As for me, I used to be a national second-class athlete, but now I'm a freelancer. Don't worry, I've been approved by the school to work here. I'm not an illegal resident. That mischievous voice with a hint of a smile at the end could simply tickle people's hearts. This teacher seemed to be easy to get along with. Many students were relieved. However, it turned out that they were happy too early. Chapter 752. Well, since everyone has finished asking questions, let's start the class. Gu Yunka clapped his hands and said. Seeing that all the students were looking at him, he nodded with satisfaction and continued, When your teacher Liang went on a business trip, he told me something. I have already made arrangements for your classes. As soon as he said this, many students had a bad feeling in their hearts. Sure enough, the next moment, they heard the handsome teacher say with a smile, The routine long-distance running is absolutely necessary for every class. I will also check your attendance from time to time, and then there is a physical fitness test. Oh my God. Many people wailed in their hearts. They thought that with a new teacher, they could have an easier time this month, but they didn't expect that they still had to live in deep water and fire. Everyone, keep your spirits up. You're all youths full of vigor. What's this short distance to you? Come on. Teacher Gu's voice was still explosive, but in the students' ears, it was not as pleasant as before. Fu Qing couldn't help but say, Teacher, since you said that this short distance is nothing, why don't you take us to run together? Gu Yunke looked over. Gu Xingyin and Fu Qing were standing together. Fu Qing always felt that the teacher's eyes paused on her. Fu Qing was a little uneasy. She hated that she couldn't control her mouth. What if this new teacher didn't like her? Speaking of which, he was so handsome. He wouldn't be so stingy, right? Amidst her uneasiness, Teacher Gu paused for a moment, as if she was considering her words. Then, she nodded. This female student is right. All right, I'll run with you. Ah. Fu Qing looked at him with a stunned expression. Was he serious? But Gu Yunke smiled and said to everyone, I can take you to run, but those who need to run for 1,500 yuan and walk for half an hour, don't come. I will evaluate your results. In a split second, Bai Pen received countless extremely lethal gazes. Who told you to talk too much? Great, now you can't even slack off. Fu Qing looked innocent. I didn't know that the teacher was such a person. All right, let's get on the track. Momo held on tightly to Gu Xingyin. Oh, Qingqing, you can't leave him in the lurch. Our revolutionary friendship, you have to take me with you. There was a reason for her to say this. Although Chu Qing was petite, her physical fitness was top-notch. Other people would be half dead after running 1,500 meters, but she was fine. At most, she would sweat a little. In the past, Ms. Liang liked to use Chu Qing as a role model for the whole class. He said that there were so many people in the class, especially the boys, but they couldn't compare to a girl. Gu Xingyin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I'll run with you. Don't drag me down when the time comes. In the past, every time they ran, Momo would grab her hand and not let go. No matter how good Chu Qing's physical strength was, she would be exhausted by her every time. Tao Wu felt a little guilty. I couldn't run anymore. Her eyes darted around and she suddenly covered her mouth. Qingqing, look. It turned out that the male teacher had taken off his coat. He was wearing a gray vest with a white shirt on the inside. He looked like a young master from a wealthy family from the last century. Chapter 753. When he was wearing a coat, only his slender figure could be seen. But now that he had taken off his coat, his long and straight legs were extremely eye-catching. Therefore, there was a spectacular scene on the playground. A handsome male teacher was leading the team in front, and dozens of students were running behind him. Some students who had no class and were passing by couldn't help but stop at this scene. Of course, the students could be sure that most of them were not here to see them run, but to see the male teacher who was leading the team in front of them. The girls were fine. Looking at the handsome teacher in front of them, the boys had mixed feelings. They were envious of the new teacher. When could they attract the attention of so many girls? The answer was, go to South Korea. Qing, I can't do it. Give me a hand. After running 2 laps, Momo began to pant. Gu Xingyin looked at her helplessly and reached out a hand. Breathe through your nose. I usually tell you to exercise more, but you don't want to. You're so tall. Momo grinned. I'm weak. Really, there was no one who could say that she was weak so confidently. Initially, Gu Xingyin was following closely behind Teacher Gu. Now that Fu Qing had pulled him along, the two of them fell behind. The 3rd lap, the 4th lap. Gu Yunke finished running. His face was not red and he was not out of breath. He glanced back. That girl was far behind, running slowly with another girl. He revealed a smile. The relationship between these little girls was really enviable. He stood in place for almost 5 minutes. Slowly, the students in the class reached the finish line one by one. Momo finally finished running with Gu Xingyin's help. I can't do it. Her legs were weak. She wanted to sit down, but Gu Xingyin forcibly stopped her. Don't sit down. Later at night, you'll tell me that your whole body hurts. Well, let's do some exercise. Don't sit down after running. The rest of the day is free to do whatever you want. Momo, who was still gasping for breath, suddenly brightened up. I like this teacher. Gu Xingyin turned to look at Gu Yunke. Gu Yunke was also looking at them. Seeing Gu Xingyin looking at her, Gu Yunke was stunned and smiled. She looked at teacher Gu, who was surrounded by many students, and did not walk over. Instead, she pulled teacher Gu to the other side to rest. She took out her phone, switched accounts, and logged into blog. In the original plot, on this very day, Liang Zi Loves Steamed Bun posted a long series of articles on Weibo, describing in detail how she, a newcomer, was bullied by the big shots in the circle. Just as she opened it, her phone vibrated, and a series of ads appeared on the screen. Gu Xingyin clicked on one of them. Sure enough, Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns had posted an emotional article. Gu Xingyin gave it a cursory glance. The writing wasn't bad. Between the lines, she seemed to have exposed all the obscure rules of the voice acting industry that discriminated against newcomers. Her grievance could be felt through the words. But this time, he was not the only one who was mentioned. Gu Xingyin glanced at it. Although Liang Zi Loves Steamed Bun did not mention the name of the club, the article mentioned a very famous female top voice, a club that likes to make xianxia dramas, and so on. It was obvious. Of course, the main target was Chu Qingjiu. The members of the Shanhe Scroll Club only skimmed over a few sentences. When it came to the inside story of the voice acting circle, the fans naturally went crazy. Chu Qingjiu's ID alone had been at hundreds of times. Chapter 754. Gu Xingyin scrolled through the comments and was surprised to find that most of her fans were on her side. Scrolling up, it turned out that Dream of Tang Dynasty, Zhuang Cha, and the others had also replied to Weibo. Dream of Tang Dynasty, do you dare to say it directly? Why are you being so secretive? Why don't you tell us what we've done to you? Liang Zi Loves Buns Zhuang Cha, distorting the truth. I can't stand such a sinister person. Liang Zi Loves Buns Huayin likes to sleep late. Oh my god, what happened when I came back from lunch? Is this what I saw with my own eyes? I'm the person involved, I'm confused. This girl's storytelling skills are not bad, hee hee. Liang Zi Loves Buns. The Mountain River Scroll Society had always had a good reputation in the circle and had many die-hard fans. Gu Xingyin could see that most of the comments under this Weibo were scolding Liang Zi for loving buns. Some people even said that she was doing this on purpose, wanting to ride on the popularity of these gods to gain fame for herself. Gu Xingyin thought for a while and replied. Itsu Qingjiu, heaven is watching what people do. He should at least speak with some conscience. Liang Zi Loves Buns. To be honest, among those who were affected, although what she said wasn't nice, it wasn't too overboard. But Liang Zi Loves Buns seemed to have set her sights on her. She didn't reply to other people's but she replied to Itsu Qingjiu's reply immediately. Liang Zi Loves Buns, God, can you not speak so harshly? I'm just on good terms with gods Chunhua and Qiushi. Do you have to target me like this? Itsu Qingjiu was actually related to gods Chunhua and Qiushi. The onlookers felt like there was big gossip to watch. Could it be a threesome? After all, Itsu Qingjiu and Qiushi were considered an official couple. Did Liang Zi Loves Buns mean that she was close to gods Chunhua and Qiushi? Gu Xingyin, hee hee. Why did this person keep dragging Chunhua and Qiushi into this? She raised her hand and typed a reply. Itsu Qingjiu, if you want to mingle well in this industry, you have to practice hard. Be careful when you're auditioning. Don't think too much. Most people in this world don't have a grudge against you. Liang Zi loves to eat buns. Her words were to the point. Compared to Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns' pretentious tone, her words were more acceptable to her fans. The comments were full of likes. Cloud made of rain, dada, you're right. That bao bao, are you thinking too much? Roses blooming in the wilderness, what Qingjiu said makes sense. In this industry, strength speaks louder than words. If you have the time to create trouble, you might as well improve your strength and come up with a good work. To Liangzi loves eating buns. Looking at the comments on the internet, Liangzi loves steamed buns was so angry that she wanted to cry. She originally thought that since she was clearly a victim, those fans would comfort her and criticize those so-called gods. Who would have thought that things would develop in a completely different way? She thought for a while and called a number. Hello? Liangzi. The other party's voice was very pleasant. God Xiushi, have you seen the Weibo post? Liangzi loves eating buns said angrily. How could Chenhua and Xiushi not see it? Liangzi didn't tell him when she posted the Weibo post. By the time he found out, the Weibo post had already been covered by fans. Chapter 755. In private, he also knew that Liangzi loves buns was a stupid thing to do. She was just a nobody. She had offended many famous people in the circle with a casual post. How could she win the sympathy of her fans? How could there be such a good thing in the world? But he could only keep these words in his heart. In front of Liangzi, he still maintained his gentle and good-tempered image. Liangzi, he said carefully, what are your plans? A sweet voice came from the other side. That group of people bullied me just because they are gurus. Guru Qiushi, help me out. Chenhua Qiushi frowned. To be honest, he didn't want to get involved in this mess. Seeing that he didn't reply, Liangzi loves buns got angry. She said angrily, Guru Qiushi, you won't leave me in the lurch, right? I was planning to go over to your place this weekend. I didn't expect you to be so unjust. Hearing that Liangzi would come over this weekend, Chenhua Qiushi gave in. After all, it was just an online circle. How big of a deal could it be? He thought and agreed. Chenhua Qiushi, Liangzi is new here. She doesn't know anything. Why do you have to be so calculative with her? Qingjiu, you weren't like this in the past. Itsu Qingjiu. Chenhua Qiushi was quite famous in the industry and had quite a lot of fans. When he said this, many people sensed that something was wrong. It seemed like Guru Chenhua Qiushi was on the side of that bun. Also, from the meaning of his words, could it be that Guru Qingjiu really hated her because of love and was deliberately targeting the newbie out of jealousy? Gu Xingyin sneered and replied with a slap in the face. Itsu Qingjiu, you know what I was like in the past? We only worked together on a web drama. We are just acquaintances. Guru Chenhua Qiushi, don't think too highly of yourself. Chenhua Qiushi. Also, a certain newbie who is pure and innocent, I don't have any grudges against you. Your face isn't big enough for me to deliberately target you. Liangzi loves buns. After saying this, she put down her phone. Looking at these brainless comments was really tiring. Gu Xingyin was glad that she knew what these two people were like. She had screenshots and voice recordings of what happened yesterday. At most, he would go back and post it on Weibo at night. Anyway, if the two of them fell out, then so be it. Gu Yunke looked at the girl from afar. She seemed to have put her phone away. He took out his phone. The girls around him smiled and wanted to take a look. What does the teacher's screensaver look like? Is there a little secret? Gu Yunke gently turned the phone over to her side. She shook her head with a smile and said, there are many little secrets in a man's phone. As soon as he said that, the students surrounding him tactfully left. Although they were heckling, it was obvious that this new teacher was not willing to let them take another step forward. Naturally, they would not be so insensible as to pester her. After the crowd dispersed, Gu Yunke logged into a familiar account and found a piece of hot news. He flipped through them one by one, his expression unchanged. It wasn't until she flipped to Itsu Qingjiu's most recent comment that she smiled. Indeed, she was a straightforward person who didn't like to be taken advantage of. However, he was a little worried. Such a personality seemed to be a little too straightforward, and it was easy to attract hate. Sure enough, Chunhua Qiushir's fans had already started to scold her for thinking too highly of herself. He swiped his finger on the screen a few times and sent a comment. Chapter 756. Drunken Dusk, it's just a one-sided story. If you have the ability, take a screenshot and slap her in the face. Chunhua Qiushir Liangzi loves to eat buns. Drunken Dusk, Itsu Qingjiu. Not long after he sent this message, he received a private message on QQ, Tang Tang. Damn, Dusk, you said you weren't close to Qingjiu. I've never seen you speak up for others. Drunken Dusk, we weren't close before, but now we are. Tang Tang, who are you lying to? Dream of Tang Dynasty scrolled through Drunken Dusk's Weibo and found that he followed Qingjiu. He then scrolled through Qingjiu's Weibo and found that she didn't follow any of them. Ha 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 ha. Dusk, to think you would have such a day. He laughed out loud. The gossipy onlookers expressed that this matter seemed to be getting more and more involved. Even Huang Hun, who had never participated in such matters, came out to support Qingjiu. What exactly was going on? After class, Gu Xingyin and Hua Qing finished their lunch before returning to the dormitory. There were a lot of things to do this week. There were 3 exams, and this was also the reason why Chu Qing didn't deal with this matter in time. Gu Xingyin returned to the dormitory and turned on her computer. Hua Qing knocked on the door and entered with a plate of grapes. Damn, Qingxing is about to take her exams and you're still playing online games? Hua Qing looked shocked. Gu Xingyin looked back at her calmly. Aren't you playing games? Hua Qing looked smug when she heard this. That's different. I'm a top student. Indeed, although Hua Qing dedicated almost all her free time to her games and movies, she could get a first-class scholarship from the school every year. She was the envy of those who crammed at the last minute but often failed their exams. Chu Qing was the kind of person who crammed at the end of her exams. She would always start revising a week before the exams and then leave it to fate. Most of the time, she would pass. Occasionally, she would fail. Miss Chu said that there would be make-up exams. Anyway, she didn't need to use such an impressive academic background to gild herself. The Chu family only wanted their daughter to be happy, so she could do whatever she wanted. Chu Qing took a grape and put it in her mouth. Something happened today. I met a retard. I have to get rid of her, or I won't be able to focus on revising. Retard? There was gossip. That's what the girl loves. She quickly moved a chair and sat next to Gu Xingyin. She picked up a grape and said, Tell me, what happened that made my little cutie unable to bear it? In Bai Luo's eyes, her roommate Chu Qing's character was really good. She was obviously a pampered young miss, but her personality was not bad at all. She was not pretentious, nor did she show off. At most, she was a little spoiled. But she had the capital. Her whole family doted on her, and there was never anything that troubled her. How could she not be delicate? She had a lot of friends in real life, but she didn't have many bad friends. According to Chu Qing's logic, if she didn't really like him, she would just ignore him. Naturally, the two sides wouldn't have any more interactions, and their relationship wouldn't be bad. To be able to make her call him a retard, how excessive was that? Gu Xingyin glanced at her. There's nothing to say. She's just a little white lotus flower. She always feels that the whole world is against her. Her paranoia is a little too much. She skillfully logged into her account and sent a Weibo. Chu Qingjiu, the whole process of yesterday's incident is here to be slapped. Smile, drunk dusk. Chapter 757. Gu Xingyin's slap to the face was a little too harsh. The screenshot was of the conversation between Liang Zi Loves Buns and the management team of Mountain River Scroll. Gu Xingyin had blurred out the faces, but those who were observant could roughly tell who was speaking. The recording was even more comprehensive. The part where Liang Zi Loves Buns tested the voice of Immortal in the clouds, the part where she acted coquettishly on the microphone, the part where Chunhua and Qiushir spoke up for her, and so on. Gu Xingyin had uploaded the entire process onto the internet. The moment her Weibo post was posted, the members of Mountain River Scroll who had been paying attention to the development of the situation all liked and forwarded it. Dream of Tang Tang even left 3 thumbs up below. Drunken Dusk, great. Needless to say, the fans below all said that they had just watched a big show. Daydream, I carefully watched and listened to Qingzhou's screenshots and recording again, but I didn't see any almighty bullying the newbie. I only saw a pretentious White Lotus doing evil things at Liangzi Loves Buns. What do you think about this? A little yellow chick, allow me to give a like to the almighty of Mountain River Scroll. Peach Blossom Forest definitely can't use such a person. Immortal in the Clouds definitely can't use this bun. Damn, why don't you listen to your own voice? Do you know who Immortal in the Clouds is? At Liangzi Loves Buns Flowers Fall knows how much. Liangzi Loves Buns, Shameless, Moonlight Beside the Bed, Liangzi Loves Buns, Shameless +1, Apples Don't Taste Good, Liangzi Loves Buns, Shameless +2, I really don't know where you get your confidence from. So many almighty are targeting you at Liangzi Loves Buns. Also, a big like to Qingzhou. Gu Xingyin looked at the comments below and logged out of her Weibo post in satisfaction. After informing the official voice actors of Peach Blossom Forest that she had some private matters to attend to and couldn't go on QQ, she logged out of all her 2D accounts and started to focus on revising. If there was a sudden change and she didn't even study at the last minute, not to mention the others, Chua would be the first to start suspecting. Similarly, he did not appear for a week, but the development of the situation was completely different from the original plot. Now, the public opinion and fans were all on her side. Liangzi Loves Buns had even been kicked out of the online matchmaking circle by her fans. The circle did not welcome a scheming bitch like her. Chunhua and Qiushi, the great gods who helped the tyrant, also lost a lot of fans. Other than a few true fans who still supported them, many passers-by directly unfollowed them. Chunhua and Qiushi also felt a bit tired. He really liked Liangzi Loves Buns. Back then, when Liangzi Loves Buns joined his fan group, her words were full of admiration for him. She even posted photos of Meng Meng's cute voice. In the photo, Liangzi Loves to Eat Buns looked sweet and cute. When she smiled, there were 2 shallow dimples on her face. She was Chunhua and Qiushi's favorite face. Men usually had no resistance when facing the opposite sex, especially the opposite sex who was beautiful and knew how to act coquettishly. Therefore, when Liangzi Loves Steamed Bun asked him to bring her into the online community, Chunhua and Qiushi agreed without hesitation. He really enjoyed the feeling of being worshipped by girls. And when Liangzi asked him who was more important, her or Chu Qingzhou, he smiled and said, "How can the 2 of you be compared?" Chu Qingzhou and him were just normal friends. They just happened to work together before and were slightly more familiar with each other. Chunhua and Qiushi secretly felt that Chu Qingzhou, who was usually inactive and never interacted with others outside of dubbing, was definitely an otaku who wasn't good at communicating with others in real life. What kind of girl would not be good at speaking and not communicate with others in real life? Chunhua and Qiushi could only think of those sensitive, self-abased, and ugly girls who didn't know how to dress up. Chapter 758. Phew, I finally finished another exam. Coming out of the examination room, Momo breathed a sigh of relief. Some students around heard her sigh and glanced at her sadly. Momo, please don't say such things. I guess we have to take a makeup exam this time. Momo pulled Gu Xingyin aside and asked, "How are you?" Gu Xingyin thought for a moment. It should be no problem to pass. Of course, it was no problem. She came here because of the accuracy rate, which guaranteed that she would occasionally exceed her usual level. Momo pulled her out. Let's go. After tomorrow, this evil exam week will be over. Let's go and have a big meal. This was an old rule between the 2 of them. Every time they finished an exam, they would reward their taste buds. Today, I said this because tomorrow's exam is almost a compulsory course for this major, so I'll take it as an early celebration. Gu Xingyin looked at the time and shook her head. Let's go in the evening. There is a physical education class in the afternoon. The purpose of having a good meal was to relax. It wasn't nice to think about rushing back to class in the middle of the meal. Momo thought for a moment and nodded. Okay, I hope our handsome teacher can be gentle in the afternoon. Their teacher was really gentle in the afternoon. Today, Mr. Gu was wearing a formal sportswear. It was an outfit that would have blended in with the others, but on him, it was extremely fitting and slim-fitting. Looking at it, the youthful Gu Yunka standing in a group of students did not seem out of place at all. Another girl could not help but exclaim, "Teacher Gu, how old are you?" Gu Yunka smiled. "In my eyes, you are all little kids." Humph. The students could not help but despise him. Looking at the teacher's appearance, he was at most 25. A girl plucked up her courage and said, "Teacher, this week is our exam week. Everyone is exhausted. Can you give us a way out and let us have a good rest and relax?" As soon as she finished speaking, the whole class looked at Gu Yunka expectantly. Exam week? Gu Yunka thought for a moment and glanced at the faces of the students inadvertently. No wonder she said that she could not show up for a week. Thinking of this, he smiled and nodded. It's okay to relax, but you can't do nothing. Running 2 laps with the teacher to exercise is also a good way to reduce stress. Yeah. Teacher, you're the best. The students in the class cheered. Compared to the usual classes, 2 laps were nothing. This time, it was rare that none of the students held them back. Even the usually delicate girls gritted their teeth and finished the race. After running the laps, Gu Xingyin and a few girls in her class gathered together and chatted. Although Teacher Gu told them to rest, they couldn't just walk around. This time, the theme was all around the After all, every time it came to exam season, the most popular people were usually the top students. Gu Yunka took a look at this side and walked over. Are there a lot of exams this week? He asked. When the girls saw him coming over, they consciously made way for him. With regards to such a handsome teacher, they were still very welcoming. Not to mention anything else, just looking at him made them feel that he was very pleasing to the eyes, right? Coincidentally, Gu Yunka happened to be beside Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin glanced at him and nodded. Basically, there are exams every day. Chapter 759. Someone immediately followed up with flattery, "Teacher, you're so reasonable and handsome. It's really rare to find a teacher like you. If only you were really a teacher in our school." Gu Yunka just smiled. Momo asked, "Teacher Gu, you said you were an international athlete. What kind of athlete are you?" As soon as she said that, many girls looked at her. In their hearts, since Teacher Gu was so handsome, she must be a super handsome basketball player. Gu Yunka replied, "Swimming." Swimming, Momo pulled Gu Xingyin's sleeves on the other side and made a gesture of abdominal muscles. It was said that swimmers had a very good figure. Gu Yunka suddenly said, "I see that you are all out of breath when you are running. You don't exercise much in daily life, right?" It was more than little. They didn't exercise at all. At this time, Gu Xingyin was pulled out as a representative. "Teacher, that's not necessarily true. Look at Qingqing. Although she is thin and small, she is a fierce person who can run 3,000 meters in the school sports meet." The girls around her nodded their heads. It must have been hard for Chu Qing to have such explosive power in such a petite body. Oh. Gu Yunka looked at Gu Xingyin and said with a smile, "I really don't see it." Gu Xingyin looked embarrassed. "I just run a little more in daily life." It's more than running a little more. As her roommate, Momo began to blabber that Chu Qing had to do yoga for an hour every day, stand for at least half an hour every day, and so on. Unconsciously, she sold Chu Qing out. Gu Yunka listened to her slowly. She looked indifferent, but she remembered some of her little habits in her heart. At first, Gu Xingyin did not understand why he was here. But when she saw Lao Xiu selling her out without any hesitation, she roughly understood what he was thinking. Was he taking a roundabout route to inquire about her indirectly? At the end of the class, Gu Yunka learned a lot. He was so happy that he didn't even call the roll and called the class over. Gu Shengyin was dragged by Qinshin to a seafood hotpot restaurant that she liked very much. Gu Yunke walked out of the school. As soon as she got in the car and fastened her seatbelt, she received a call. It was his good friend Liang Zhe, the PE teacher he was teaching as a substitute. I say, Gu Yunke, why did you insist on making me take on this difficult task of being a substitute teacher? Now that I'm eating and drinking here, how does it feel to be a substitute teacher? There was a hint of schadenfreude in his voice. Back then, his good friend took the initiative to look for him and said that the orienteering course he was going to teach sounded interesting. It just so happened that the school was arranging for a teacher to go on a business trip. He could help him get a spot and teach him. Who didn't know that this business trip was just to sit and listen to two useless meetings and eat and drink the rest of the time? He didn't know what Gu Yunke was thinking. Of course, Liang Zhe wouldn't refuse such a thing. Gu Yunke replied with a smile, it feels good. Not bad? On the other side, Liang Zhe was suspicious. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and asked, could it be that you've taken a liking to one of the girls in my class and are plotting to get close to her? Gu Yunke didn't answer, but asked back, do I look like that kind of person? Liang Zhe was stunned for a moment and immediately thought that it made sense. A person like Gu Yunke had always been pursued by beautiful girls. Which girl was worth his effort? Chapter 760. Gu Yunke hung up the phone, stepped on the accelerator, and left the school. However, there were so many coincidences in the world. When he walked into the seafood hot pot restaurant recommended by his friend, he saw two girls sitting in the corner at a glance. To be more precise, the first thing he saw was Gu Shengyin, who was sitting a little further away. The restaurant was very popular. Gu Yunke glanced around and found that there was only one empty seat left in the restaurant. He looked behind him and found that someone else came in. He paused for a moment, then took out his mobile phone slowly and called his little nephew to ask about his studies. When he hung up the phone, there were no seats left. He walked to the front desk. The waitress saw the handsome guy very early. When she saw him talking on the phone, she almost rushed up and shouted at him, if you don't hurry up, the seat will be taken by others. However, her good professionalism made her restrain her impulse. One seat, Gu Yunke said with a smile. The waitress blushed and said apologetically, I'm sorry, sir, the seats are full. Gu Yunke frowned and was obviously disappointed. Seeing him like this, the waitress couldn't help but look around to see if any customers had finished eating and could make room for them. I heard from my friend that the taste of this restaurant is very authentic. Alas, it seems that I don't have the luck today. Gu Yunke said softly. Oh, is that Teacher Gu? Momo had sharp eyes and saw Gu Yunke standing at the front desk as soon as she looked up. Teacher Gu also came here to eat. Momo was a little excited, but then she looked inside the restaurant. It seemed that there were no seats left. Gu Yunke said something to the waitress and was about to go outside. Momo blurted out, Teacher Gu. Her voice was not too loud, but it was enough for Gu Yunke to hear. Many people who were eating around also heard it. Sorry. Momo put her palms together and smiled apologetically. Gu Yunke seemed to be very surprised to see them. Momo was embarrassed to shout again, so she got up and walked to the front desk. Are there no seats left? If you don't mind, you can share a table with us. Gu Yunke glanced at Gu Shengyin, who didn't get up and hesitated. Will it be inconvenient for you? Momo thought that he was afraid that Gu Shengyin would be unhappy. She shook her head and said, Qingxing is just busy eating. It's okay. Gu Yunke smiled and said, then I'll have to thank you. He walked towards the table where the two of them were seated. Gu Shengyin just fished out the cooked prawns and smiled when she saw Gu Yunke. Hello, Miss Gu. Originally, she and Momo were sitting opposite each other, but now Momo sat next to her and let Gu Yunke sit opposite her. A waiter came over from the other side. Gu Yunke finished ordering and smiled at the two of them. Thank you so much for today. Otherwise, I would have come here for nothing. Among the three people present, Mommy was the most talkative. Gu Yunke always answered with a gentle smile. Although Gu Xingyin was a little quiet, it could be seen that she was in a good mood. They enjoyed the meal very much. When it was time to pay the bill, Gu Yunka certainly wouldn't miss the opportunity to show his gentlemanly demeanor. After paying the bill, he sent the two girls back to school regardless of their refusal. Take care, Miss Gu. The two girls arrived at the school gate and said goodbye to him. Chapter 761. After Gu Yunka left, Momo sighed and said, Mr. Gu is such a handsome and gentle man. What kind of girl is worthy of him? Seeing that Gu Xingyin didn't answer, she suddenly asked, Qingqing, what do you think of Mr. Gu? Gu Xingyin answered casually, he's good. Looking at Momo's expectant expression, she asked suspiciously, you don't have that kind of feeling for him, do you? Momo shook her head quickly. How could it be? If I want to find a boyfriend, I don't want to find a man who is more handsome than me. He is not as attractive as my boyfriend when he goes out, and I have to spend a lot of effort to get rid of a lot of rivals. Mr. Gu was obviously not short of girls who liked him. Momo didn't want to live such a tiring life. However, she looked at Gu Xingyin and said with a smile, I think you are very good. You see, both of you are extremely beautiful. If you go out together, aren't you a perfect couple? Besides, you have the most adorable height difference. This was what Chu Qing disliked most. Gu Xingyin pretended to be angry and said, Momo, believe it or not, if you talk about height again, don't expect me to bring you food in the future. It was a matter of food rations, so Momo immediately begged for mercy without moral integrity. I was wrong, Qingqing. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Look at my sincere big eyes. Gu Xingyin glanced at her. You have the nerve to say that you have big eyes in front of me? Momo looked at her with a stunned face and was about to cry. I didn't expect you to be like this, Chu Qing. I don't love you anymore. I want to find a new love. Gu Xingyin didn't want to talk with this girl who was too dramatic. She said lazily, goodbye. The next day, the students who finished the last course felt that they were alive again. Unlike the other students who wanted to go out and have fun, Gu Xingyin and Momo returned to the dormitory after lunch. The first thing they did was turn on their computers. Gu Xingyin logged in after switching accounts. Soon, Drunk Dusk sent a message. It was obviously a reminder to go online. Are you done with your work? Gu Xingyin didn't say she was doing it for the exam. She only said that she had something to do in real life. I'm done, she replied. She posted in the official group chat of Peach Blossom Forest. Dreaming of Tang Linjianzi, Qingzhou, you're finally online. Did you see the Weibo post? Qingzhou in the clouds, Celestial in the clouds. Gu logged in Qingzhou Weibo Qingzhou. Dreaming of the Tang dynasty. Lingyinzi, that Liang Zi loves eating buns is up to something again. Dada Qingzhou, go and take a look. Gu Xingyin had seen it. She clicked on Liang Zi loves buns Weibo and realized that the previous Weibo post had been deleted. Her latest Weibo post was a long and sincere apology letter. In the letter, she explained that she had just entered the industry and she had a sensitive personality. Hence, during the audition for Peach Blossom Forest, she thought the Almighties didn't like her and said those words. Later, when she found out that it was all a misunderstanding, she posted a Weibo post to apologize. What made people speechless was that she even tagged the members of the Rolls of Mountains and Rivers Club and Qingzhou one by one. She even posted a message on Weibo. Gu Xingyin opened it and listened. I'm Liangzi. I was in the wrong earlier. I apologize to all the Almighties. That voice was so coy that it made Gu Xingyin shudder. Gu Xingyin's seemingly insincere apology letter received many people's approval. Chapter 762. Those people were mostly male fans. They had no resistance against girls who acted coquettishly. Perhaps it was because they were on the internet. No matter what others did, they would at most take a look. Things that didn't affect them would usually be dismissed with a laugh. Some self-proclaimed reasonable passers-by tagged Qingzhou and the others, saying how pitiful a young lady was. Since she had already admitted her mistake, there was no need to be calculative. You're so thick-skinned that you can even represent others' thoughts. While Gu Xingyin was watching, Liang Zi Loves Eating Buns posted on Weibo, saying that to thank everyone for their support and understanding, she would start a live broadcast the day after tomorrow. Gu Xingyin closed her Weibo and exited. Qingjiu, celestial in the clouds, don't bother about her. She's just trying to please the crowd. Drunken Dusk Crown Prince Luyun, Qingjiu is right. With Liang Zi Loves Eating Buns, we're just letting her take the opportunity to boost her popularity. To gain a foothold in the industry, one doesn't rely on one's looks. Director, right, don't bother about her. It's not like such people haven't appeared before. Now, they're nowhere to be seen. Mountains and Rivers in the Sleeves, we'll officially start the production of Peach Blossom Forest today. Is everyone okay with it? We've informed them a week in advance, so there's no problem. Although they said they were going to start recording, Gu Xingyin spent most of her time recording Celestial in the Clouds and Huang Tian's dry voice recordings. She only needed to rehearse with Drunken Dusk when there were particularly intense emotional scenes. After rehearsing twice, the two of them realized that it felt better this way. Hence, the two of them chatted privately for a long time to confirm which parts they would rehearse together. They also planned out the time. After all, the two of them weren't professional voice actors. They couldn't spend all their time on this. On the first week, Gu Xingyin handed in the dry voice recordings. Within 5 minutes, Tea Blossom sent a message. It's perfect. Tea Blossom's words were sincere because Gu Xingyin handed her 2 dry voice recordings. One was Celestial in the Clouds, and the other was Huang Tian. 2 completely different people, 2 completely different voices, and even the way they spoke was different. However, Gu Xingyin was the perfect example. Even though he had personally heard Gu Xingyin speak with 2 voices at the same time, Zhu Cha still found it inconceivable. The official account of Peach Blossom Forest had already released the news. When the list of voice actors was announced, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone could understand why Drunken Dusk would host Prince Flowing Cloud. This god's strength and voice were definitely guaranteed, and it matched Prince Flowing Cloud's feelings very well. But what the hell was Song Qingjiu commanding immortal in the clouds? It wasn't that Itsu Qingjiu wasn't capable enough. It was just that her style had always been more domineering and fierce. Asking her to be the cold and aloof celestial among the clouds? Was the scroll of mountains and rivers a joke? The Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns incident, which had caused a stir last week, seemed to be caused by the casting of Yun Zhongxian. At that time, everyone felt that Liang Zi Loves Buns was not suitable for the role, which led to the catfight. Could it be that the people of Scroll of Mountains and Rivers felt that Song Qingjiu was suitable for the role? If fans had to say, the fiery female battle god Phoenix Genius in Peach Blossom Forest was more suitable for her, right? Chapter 763. Wait a minute. The sharp-eyed people saw Itsu Qingjiu's name on the list below. It was clearly stated that Itsu Qingjiu was also in charge of Huang Tian's character. What? Could it be that Shanha Scroll mixed up the names when he released the list? In an instant, countless comments appeared under the official account, all asking if there was a mistake in the list. Shanha Scroll had long expected such a situation. Shanha Scroll personally released a statement on Weibo, saying that there was no mistake in the list. In other words, Itsu Qingjiu was indeed in charge of 2 characters, and they were 2 popular characters with different styles. Once this news was verified, all sorts of anti-fans started jumping out. Among them, there were fans of the original novel, Peach Blossom Forest. This group of people was more rational, claiming that they were also fans of Itsu Qingjiu. Although she was capable, she should consider her own situation. Her style wasn't suitable for Immortal in the Clouds. There were also Shanha Scroll's opponents, as well as some who couldn't stand Itsu Qingjiu. Compared to the previous group of people, they basically started scolding. They said that Shanha Scroll's brain must have gone haywire. After being in the industry for so many years, didn't she have some basic common sense? It was obvious that letting Itsu Qingjiu take on the role of Immortal in the Clouds would ruin this character and even this web drama. There were also people who said that Itsu Qingjiu was relying on her identity as a guru to take on this job even if she didn't have a diamond in the rough. She was just waiting for the web drama to be aired to slap her in the face. Another group of people were passers-by who didn't know what was going on. These people were the ones who were wavering the most. They felt that what the Book of Mountains and Rivers said made sense. However, they felt that the Book of Mountains and Rivers must have its own reasons for doing so. Blindly stirring things up would only make things more complicated. But with this commotion, Peach Blossom Forest became even more famous. This drama was one of the most popular dramas in the industry, but it was only one of them. There were a few other popular dramas at the same time, and Peach Blossom Forest wasn't at the stage where it stood alone. But with this, Peach Blossom Forest gained an unprecedented amount of attention. Many people who weren't interested in this drama were curious about what kind of script could cause such a huge reaction. And who was Itsu Qingjiu? Why were there so many comments about her? However, Shanha Scrolls Club wouldn't change their mind. The official account once again issued a statement, making it clear that the selection of Itsu Qingjiu as the main character of Immortal in the Clouds was based on a comprehensive consideration of various factors. The Mountain and River Scroll Society believes that Itsu Qingjiu has the ability to portray this character perfectly. Fans can wait and see. The Mountain and River Scroll and Itsu Qingjiu will definitely not disappoint. At this time, Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns came out to cause trouble again. Shanha Weibo's Weibo. Liang Zi Loves Steamed Buns. I finally know the difference between a newbie and a guru. This time, she learned to be smarter and didn't say it out loud. But who among the fans didn't know what she meant? This meant that she was not suitable for the role of the Celestial in the Clouds, so the Mountain River Scroll Society directly removed her. But Itsu Qingjiu was a guru, so her treatment was different. So even though she knew that she was not suitable for this role, the Scroll of Mountains and Rivers still chose her without hesitation. Chapter 764. Gu Xingyin only wanted to say one thing, Miss Bun, you're really courting death as long as you live. Wouldn't it be better to just buy some melon seeds and soda and sit by the side to watch the show? If not, it's fine if you used a side account to kick someone when they're down, but why did you have to use your main account to taunt them? You're just pulling aggro for yourself. She really couldn't understand this girl's train of thought. What was Liang Zi Loves Eating Bun thinking? She really didn't think too much about it. She only saw how Mountain River Scroll and Itsu Qingjiu were scolded so badly. As a newbie who had grudges with them, she didn't feel the need to pretend to be so magnanimous. Speaking of which, during this period of time, she had been lectured by Chunhua and Xiushi, and she finally started to understand this circle. And because she had an inexplicable desire to compare with Itsu Qingjiu, she specially paid attention to Itsu Qingjiu's works. Precisely because of this, Miss Bun, who felt that she was very familiar with Itsu Qingjiu's style, firmly believed that Itsu Qingjiu definitely couldn't portray the otherworldly aura of Immortal in the Clouds. Her logic was like this: Itsu Qingjiu was destined to be mocked this time, so what if she joined in? Chunhua and Xiushi expressed that they were mentally exhausted. He and Liang Zi Loves Eating Bun noodles were gay. Although he didn't like the heavy makeup on her face, he could still tell that she was a petite girl with pretty facial features. They were currently at the stage of being friends but not yet lovers. Hence, at this time, Chunhua and Xiushi were still very patient with this girl. But no matter how patient they were, they couldn't stand her doing such brainless things without discussing it with them. Yes, brainless. Chunhua and Xiushi couldn't help but use this adjective to describe such behavior. He and Gu Xingyin had similar thoughts. You're a newbie, so you should just stay in your own territory and not cause trouble. If you really hated Itsu Qingjiu and Mountain River Scroll to death, you could spend some money to hire some ghostwriters to slander them. If you did this secretly, you wouldn't be able to find out. Moreover, Mountain River Scroll probably wouldn't be in the mood to investigate this at this time. But she didn't do that. She just had to use such a stupid move. He was so angry that he called Liangzi Loves Steamed Bun. Liangzi, why did you post on Weibo? Although the two of them had met in real life, they were used to addressing each other in the circle. Liangzi Loves Steamed Bun was happy to hear this. She wanted to ask Chunhua and Qiushi for praise. Well, I just can't stand Mountain River Scroll and Itsu Qingjiu. Especially Qingjiu. She lectured me during the audition, but she herself. Liang Zi. Chunhua and Qiushi interrupted her, trying to calm themselves down. You're already an adult, can you not be so childish in your revenge? Hearing this, Liang Zi loves steamed buns said coldly, what do you mean? Do you think I'm stupid? So what if I don't like them? I'm going to slap them in the face. Not just this time. When their works are out, I'm going to slap them in the face again. Chunhua and Qiushi couldn't take it anymore and hung up. Liang Zi loves steamed bun was stunned for a moment before she realized that someone had hung up on her. Chunhua Qiushi, you're good. She threw her phone on the king bed and sat down angrily. Chapter 765. She sat for a while and thought of something. She picked up the phone that she had just thrown aside and made a call. Hello, Mingji. After hanging up the phone, Chunhua and Qiushi began to look at Liang Zi loves Bun's Weibo. The more they looked, the darker their faces became. This idiot. Did she think that by slandering others, her fans would stand on her side and fight against a common enemy with her? Wrong. Who was the one who posted a sincere apology letter not long ago? If she was a little smarter, she would have hidden herself away and not gotten involved in this mess. But now, they didn't come looking for her and she was the one who went looking for trouble. She scrolled up and sure enough, except for a few comments, most of the comments were ridiculing her. Although those fans were also ridiculing under the official Weibo, they were still loyal fans of the Mountain and River Scroll. The mentality of these fans was roughly similar to, I can ridicule Mountain and River Scroll if I want to, but Liang Zi loves buns, who do you think you are? A newcomer who just entered the industry, who gave you the face to ridicule them? Looking up at the moon, I remember that not long ago, someone had a look of regret and said that she really knew she was wrong. She didn't know anything when she entered the industry and hoped that everyone in the Mountain and River Scroll would forgive her. How long has it been? Her true face has been revealed. Liang Zi loves buns. Bright moon knows my heart. Liang Zi loves buns is definitely the real-life version of a White Lotus green tea bitch. Speaking of which, upstairs, your ID and I are very faded. Looking up at the moon, eh? Yes. Come follow each other. Bright moon knows my heart. White Lotus. Liang Zi, look at my ID. Chunhua and Qiushi looked at these comments and knew that their efforts to give Liang Zi ideas to help her win back some fans had all been in vain. Unless she changed her ID, the name Liang Zi loves buns would be completely useless in this industry. He prepared to call Liang Zi and explain the current situation. But who knew that the first call would be directly hung up and the subsequent calls would be turned off? Is she still angry at me? Chunhua and Qiushi were so angry that they laughed. Since it was her own business, they would just leave her alone for a few days. In fact, the reason why he was so enthusiastic about Liang Zi's love to eat buns was not only because of their relationship in real life, but also because of Liang Zi's love to eat buns personality. Most fans knew that he had a close relationship with her, and many people even put the two of them together. Liang Zi loves to eat buns had done so much to ruin her reputation. Even Chunhua and Qiushi's reputation had been affected. In the past few days, many of his fans had left his fan club. The better ones left without a word. Some people even said that they couldn't take it anymore before leaving, making the people who stayed in the group feel uneasy. His group manager had complained to him several times, saying that the atmosphere in the group was very tense and she couldn't manage it. Chunhua and Qiushi were very tired. The fans of the Scroll of Mountains and Rivers were not under as much pressure as the outside world thought. If they weren't confident, they would have panicked. But this time, Mountains and Rivers in Sleeves was full of energy to create a classic in the online matching circle. He had absolute confidence in the cast of Peach Blossom Forest. Moreover, the song Qingjiu that everyone thought was a flaw would not be the downfall of the drama. On the contrary, she would be the fairy in the clouds that would amaze everyone. Chapter 766. Gu Xingyin heaved a sigh of relief after sending out the last part. Finally, it was a success. Next, she just had to wait for the Mountain River Scroll team to start the follow-up work. Then, her matter was basically over. Gu Xingyin had high expectations for this drama. If she wanted to win an award this year, it was highly likely that she would win this drama. Her QQ rang. Drunken Dusk, congratulations. It's a success. Gu Xingyin couldn't help but laugh. Chu Qingjiu, you too. Gu Yunke looked at the screen and paused for a moment. He recalled what Dream of Tang said to her. He moved his fingers and sent a message. Drunken Dusk, I want to ask if you're interested in joining our Mountain River Scroll team? Based on his understanding of her, Chu Qingjiu wasn't as aloof as he thought. It seemed like most of the rumors were just rumors. Gu Xingyin was shocked. Chu Qingjiu was only interested in this circle and didn't want to get involved with others. Hence, she didn't have much of a relationship with others. But such a loner would often be at a disadvantage. Chu Qingjiu, are you inviting me on behalf of the club? Hearing this, Gu Yunke was stunned for a moment before realizing the meaning of her words. Drunken Dusk, of course. Many people in our Mountain River Scroll team are your fans. Chu Qingjiu, okay. Drunken Dusk clicked into the Mountain River Scroll team's internal group. Dusk, I just invited Qingjiu to join our club. She agreed. Dream of Tang was the first to join. Tang, really? Dusk, you're amazing. Thumbs up, tea time, Dusk is really successful. Hui Yin, Qingjiu, my goddess. Dusk, quickly invite her in. The next moment, a notification appeared on the screen. Chu Qingjiu has joined the group. Dusk, welcome Tang, welcome Qingjiu tea time, welcome Qingjiu. Mountains and rivers in sleeves, welcome. Chu Qingjiu, thank you, everyone. Gu Xingyin looked at the group members and had to admit that Mountain River Scroll was indeed a huge club. In addition to some familiar names in this circle, there were also many rising newcomers this year, and even a few novel authors. Naturally, Mountain River Scrolls posted a Weibo to express his welcome. This time, some of the anti-fans came out again. I'm black, so I'm here. I was wondering why the immortal in the cloud spot fell to Qingjiu this time. It seems like the scroll of mountains and rivers was paving the way for its own guru. Originally, I thought that a big guild like Scroll of Mountains and Rivers would have a more strict style. But now, it seems, I can't think of a name, so I'll just make do with it. TSK, watching the Mountain River Scroll is courting death. There were also fans of Mountain River Scroll and Song Qingjiu who expressed their happiness. Mountains and Rivers Scroll, my goddess has joined Mountains and Rivers Scroll. His life was complete. The lost scroll of Mountains and Rivers, complete life +1. A cup of wine, my goddess actually joined a club. That's not easy. Congratulations. My goddess Qingjiu, Mountain River Scroll looks pretty good. Let's wait for the immortal in the clouds. Iku Qingjiu, for the next 2 weeks, Gu Xingyin had a very leisurely time. After the exams, the internet sent her a dry voice message, asking her to record a new one. Until that night, tea time at Ed all the members who had participated in the production of Peach Blossom Forest. The finished product of Peach Blossom Forest was finally out. Chapter 767. Everyone was invited into a private room. After the ethereal and melodious music at the beginning. Mountain River Volume, Peach Blossom Forest. Everyone could tell that it was Drunken Dusk's voice. The beginning of the script started with a little flower demon being selfish and falling in love with a demon from the demon realm. When Celestial Cloud appeared, many people held their breaths. Other than the director and a few other people in the post-production team, most of them had never seen the finished product. Although they had heard Gu Xingyin's voice during the audition, they did not know if she would be able to perform as well as she did in the actual dubbing. You violated the laws of heaven and had an affair with the demon world. I can't save you. A cold and ethereal voice rang in everyone's ears. When they heard this voice, the image of a white-clothed goddess surrounded by clouds all day long seemed to appear before their eyes. The little flower fairy who fell in love with the demon world was the maid who served Celestial Cloud for 1,000 years. People say that Celestial Cloud is cold-hearted and heartless. Today, Huaya witnessed it for myself. You and I have been master and servant for 1,000 years, but in the end, you're not even willing to say a word for me, Huaya cursed hatefully. Celestial Cloud, I curse you to always have a heart of stone. Those who love you will never be able to obtain your true heart. You can be so heartless and cold for the rest of your life. I've already dug out my heart for you. Celestial Cloud, can't you turn around and look at me? The arrogant and noble man looked at her in despair. The plain-clothed woman's expression didn't change. Celestial Cloud has never had a heart. Your Highness, please go back. Demon World's dog. Does anyone dare to come out and fight with Huang Tian? The fierce-looking woman was wearing a fiery red battle armor. She pointed her silver spear at the other party and laughed, her black hair fluttering in the wind. It wasn't until the drama ended that everyone realized that several hours had passed. Everyone had the same feeling as if they hadn't had enough. After a long while, Dream of Tang spoke. His voice was filled with excitement and anticipation. I have a feeling that once this drama is released, the online dubbing circle will explode. After a pause, he continued, I want to worship Lord Qingjiu. How did you do it? They are two completely different voices. That's right. Although there were many outstanding aspects in the web series, the greatest gem was still Wuxia Qingjiu. Gu Xingyin suddenly became playful. I don't know either. Maybe it's because my voice is different from others? Which one do you think sounds better? She said these 3 sentences with 3 different voices. The first was the domineering female voice that Song Qingjiu was most famous for. The second was Celestial Cloud's voice. As for the third, Gu Xingyin used her original voice in real life. Her voice was actually the same as her appearance, sweet and crisp. When she spoke softly, it was as sweet as honey. Dream of Tang typed 2 words on the public chat. He was convinced. Then, the screen was flooded with comments. A cup of tea, I'm convinced. Hui Yin, convinced. Cha-cha, I'm convinced. Dusk, I'm convinced. Mountains and rivers in sleeves, I'm convinced. When Drunken Dusk heard that last voice, he was surprised for a moment. Then, he laughed silently. He sent a private message over. What a coincidence. That last voice of yours is very similar to someone I know. When Gu Xingyin saw this, her expression froze. It couldn't be so coincidental, right? Could it be that this Drunken Dusk actually knew Chu Qing?